Good evening and welcome, everyone. A majority of the board is present, therefore a quorum is present, and the meeting is qualified to consider the agenda items. Tonight's flag salute will be led by the Hale High School JROTC under the direction of Major Mike McGuffey. Please stand as we prepare for the Pledge of Allegiance and the posting of the colors.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join the Nathan Hale High School Junior ROTC Color Guard in the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the posting of colors. Salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Carry, color, vote. Vote, color, precinct, arms, order, arms. Right, place. Forward, forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
It shows you how well I follow instructions. Ms. Fate, would you like to present tonight's cadets?
I would be very delighted to introduce this outstanding group of cadets under the instruction of Major McGuffey and Master Sergeant Gregg. And we have the principal, Dr. Sheila Riley, with us tonight somewhere. Okay, there she is. Our pledge leader tonight was Cadet Captain Marquez Farmer. The color guard was Cadet Major Lord Taylor, Cadet Commander Sergeant Major Savannah Ashner, Cadet Captain Gabriel Awe, Cadet Sergeant Andrew Carpenter, and the greeters were Cadet Captain Tierra Hernandez and Cadet Private Jessica Byers. And we are very, very pleased to have you all here tonight. You're so outstanding. Makes me proud to be part of Hale High School. Thank you for coming.
I want to welcome everyone here. I enjoy seeing everyone here. We are here the first and third Mondays of every month, and I hope you will all continue to join us for Democracy in the Making. I'll remind you that there are two ways speakers participate in the meeting. The first is by signing up to speak in advance, which several of you have done, regarding a matter that's not on the agenda. If you would like to speak to a matter on the agenda, you can still do that. You can sign up with our board clerk here, and the limit for all speakers is 5 minutes. I'm going to speak more later when we have citizens' comments, but I did want to remind everyone that when we do have comments from the public, the board doesn't interact, and it feels a little weird and awkward, but I want you to know that we are listening and taking notes, but in the interest of time and not starting a back and forth, the board doesn't interact when the comments come, so it feels kind of strange. I want to make sure everybody knows that that is how that works. With that, we'll move on. Before I consider a motion to adopt the agenda, Dr. Gist. Is there any changes to tonight's agenda?
Yes, Madam President, given the length of tonight's agenda and the interest in being a part of the conversation this evening, we want to make sure that we give adequate time to the recommendations that you have before you and to the folks who've come here tonight to be a part of this conversation. I want to withdraw item L. That's an executive session that we were going to have, and we'll reschedule that executive session for a different meeting. And those are the only changes.
I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Just before we vote, I will say that item L pertained to the evaluation of Dr. Gist, and she has met with each board member individually, and the executive session that we'll have will provide us an opportunity for all board members to share with her regarding that feedback, and we will likely do it at our next meeting, but we just wanted to make sure that tonight was more about the speakers and not take time while you all waited on us to go and have that session. So can I get a vote? I'll call for it. Miss Fate.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Move on to recognition of visitors. I know Representative Goodwin is here, and I know many other esteemed individuals and massively important members of our community. So truly thank you for being here. It's really energizing. And with that, I will go to Dr. Gist's special presentations.
Thank you, Madam President. We have a couple of presentations tonight. We're going to start with career and technology. We are very proud of the career and tech programs we have in the district, and we have expanded and grown and supported those programs in the last couple of years. Across the country right now, it is Career and Technical Education Month. And so we are celebrating Career and Tech Month nationally, and we're doing that right here in Tulsa. Of course, our career and tech programs provide opportunities for our students to learn skills, learn leadership, experience what it's like to be in the workforce and to grow their own preparation for life after high school, including the opportunity to be college and career ready. Career Tech is part of our high school experience, and we want to continue to grow and support that work. We know that working with our business community that have a keen interest in helping us to continue to build and support these programs so we can address our workforce needs. So here to say a few words about CTE Month is our Director of Advanced Learning, Taylor Hill Taylor. Ms. Taylor.
Technology Education Month, and we wanted to start our month-long celebration by highlighting some of our programs with you. This month, CTE students from across the district will participate in several activities to celebrate CTE Month, including a social media campaign, essay writing contests, and working with reading partners to read to our younger students. We currently have 54 programs in the district and a strong partnership with Tulsa Tech, where we serve between 9,000 and 10,000 students annually in the 6th through the 12th grade, and programs that span from business, marketing, and IT education, STEM, family and consumer sciences, agriculture, and health. Since we returned from winter break, 2 of our programs have won state-level awards that I want to highlight. Our FFA chapter from our agriculture program at Webster High School was recognized as one of the top 10 chapters in the nation, or in the state, I'm sorry, and they will be recognized on the stage at their state convention in April.
That's awesome.
The STEM students at Memorial Junior High recently won the Sea Perch competition with their underwater robot and will, for the 2nd year in a row, go to the nationals at Dartmouth University and compete for the national competition. At your seat, you have a bag of items that were created by our students in our CTE programs. They include a 3D printed keychain, photos taken by our photography students, a solar car created by the students at McLean, edible dirt from our agriculture program, and a baked good from our culinary arts program at Nathan Hale High School. We hope that you enjoy these items and that you will visit the programs this month as we celebrate CTE Month. I do have a few of our instructors in the building. I think some of them went to the overflow room to give room for our guests, but if you're in the room, if you would stand for our CTE programs. I have a few right here. And I think the rest of them in the other room. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to celebrating CTE Month with you.
Thank you so much, and thanks to our career and technical education educators and students who are here with us tonight, including from the culinary program at Hale. We've always appreciated the work that you all do, and it's an exciting program. We want to continue to support and grow that work. We have a second presentation regarding City Year. City Year is a national education nonprofit that offers peer mentoring and tutoring and provides supports at 9 different Tulsa public schools. Our partnership with City Year is entering its 5th year, and tonight we're joined by Tennille Bent, who's the Managing Director of Impact with City Year Tulsa. She's going to share a little bit more about our partnership, and Tennille is a former teacher who taught Spanish at KIPP and at Monroe Demonstration Academy. So welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Giss. I really didn't plan to be here when Kip was here. But
Some former colleagues in the room.
I love it. Cousins, colleagues. I love y'all. We are extremely excited to be able to share a bit about City Year and the work that we are doing across the 9 schools. As you mentioned, Dr. Giss, as an organization nationally, we are celebrating 30 years, and we came to Tulsa originally with 20 AmeriCorps members who were serving at Clinton Middle School and Kendall Whittier Elementary School. This school year, we began the year with 71 Corps members serving across the 9 schools, as you mentioned. We were happy to add Hale Senior High School this year as one of those school partners. So we identify students who would best benefit from our whole school, whole child service model as those who are showing risk of dropout based on being below proficiency and challenged in areas that we call the ABCs: attendance, behavior, and course performance. So we connect them with an AmeriCorps near peer mentor tutor who offers them support in those areas. Currently, we have 900 students who are receiving those direct supports from AmeriCorps members, and over 4,600 students are provided support across the board, across our 9 schools in our whole school, whole child efforts. Our AmeriCorps members are 17 to 24 years old. Many of them are completing a gap year after their college career is completed before they matriculate into their own careers into graduate school. Our AmeriCorps members have offered a lot of support to our students in social emotional development. We know that this is a very important area and thrust for the district, and it is one for us as well. 2 out of 3 of the students that we're providing these social emotional supports to are showing growth. And we know that social emotional proficiency and solidity, right, ties to course performance and excellence in their math and ELA. Our Corps members offer 15 hours cumulative of tutoring support per student per school year. That's 900 minutes in math and ELA via one-on-one tutoring sessions and small groups. They are also placed in classrooms to lend with that whole classroom support. And they also work to ensure positive school climate. And they also provide student and family engagement initiatives and activities, and that we consider that they are a very central part to student development by providing positive relationships. We really, really want to say that we appreciate the positive and collaborative relationship with Tulsa Public Schools. We collaborate in determining what schools and what students we can best serve, and how we can offer a continuum of care to students from elementary school to high school. Our research shows that we yield the best results by being able to support kids from elementary to middle to high. And overall, we're really looking forward to a continued positive partnership and bright future with TPS, and we thank you for your support.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bent. We are very grateful for our work with City Year and for what our City Year Corps members contribute to our students every day in our schools. And that concludes our presentations tonight, Madam President.
Thank you, Dr. Gist. If you haven't seen a City Year Corps start the day, I encourage you to go and see that. It's really inspiring. Before I move to approval of the minutes, Mr. Young, is there any more space for seating in the overflow room?
We have room that's available in the athletic area. It is standing room only, but we've made that available as well.
Okay. And is the live streaming available there?
That is my understanding.
Okay. So If you are want a seat, we have seats out here. If you're planning to speak, we're not going to skip you or anything like that, so you should feel free, and you're welcome to stay here too. Also wanted to make sure everybody knows the bathrooms are right out here to the left, and if you need a glass of water or coffee, please come up and help yourself during the meeting. We need to approve the minutes of the January 16th regular meeting of the board. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
I'll call for the vote. Ms. Shelton?
Aye.
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 Aye. That brings us to our action agenda. Dr. Gist consent agenda. And Dr. Gist typically does a little explaining on consent, action, and information, and it's a little bit later, but I thought maybe just really quickly she can say that now since there's so many people here.
Absolutely. So the way that the board, the flow of items come before the board is they're presented as information items first. And so tonight, a couple of items from now, we'll go over some information items. Those items are brought for the board's consideration, for the board's opportunity to ask questions and ask for additional information if it's needed. And we discuss it at that time. Almost always, there's also work in committees that happens even before it gets to that point, depending on the agenda item. So there's a lot that happens in preparation for that. Once an item comes as an information item, it will come back to the board at a later time for action. Sometimes they go on the consent agenda, and other times they go on as action items. So when they come before the board as action, the recommendation is included. Any additional questions that may be asked can happen at that time, but know that for the most part, those questions have been addressed at a previous meeting or at the committee level and so forth.
Thank you, Dr. Gist. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
I'll call for the vote. Ms. Shelton?
Aye.
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 That brings us to the action agenda. Excuse me, I didn't vote aye. That brings us to our action agenda. We have 2 items on the action agenda this evening. F1 is the first item. Enter into a participation agreement with the Oklahoma State Department of Education and Public Consulting Group for the purpose of obtaining Medicaid school-based health services Medicaid reimbursement for Tulsa Public Schools effective February 6, 2018 through June 30th, 2018. Cost not to exceed $200,000. The participation in this agreement will allow the district to file Medicaid claims for the reimbursement of state and local funds spent by the district for health-related services to Medicaid-eligible children. The Oklahoma State Department of Education, the Oklahoma Healthcare Authority, is the duly authorized agent, and as such, the State Department is duly authorized to administer the program pursuant to a June 2017 contract with OHCA. PCG is duly authorized to provide Medicaid claiming services to the district pursuant to its contract with OSDE. The district will keep the federal share of paid claims minus a 10% fee to PCG for Medicaid claiming services. I'll entertain a motion and then we'll take questions.
So moved.
Second.
Are there questions on this item? Dr. Decker?
Thank you, President Schreiber. I just wanted to make sure my understanding of what I read here is right. So it sounds like there's a cost of a contract at $200,000 that will lead to later reimbursement. And so will those later reimbursements cover that cost of that contract or be less?
Dr. Decker, I can answer that question for you. Yes, we anticipate conservatively that by engaging in Medicaid reimbursement, we're looking at conservatively recouping about $500,000, so it will more than cover the cost of the contract with PCG.
Thank you.
Mr. Percival, no question?
That answered my question.
Ms. Shannon, I do have a question regarding this matter. I'm assuming from the way this item is worded that this was not a practice that we engaged in the past, and I wonder what it means for our staff now that they'll be required to apply for reimbursement.
So the district many years ago it did some of this, then stopped doing it. The state has started supporting this again. So this allows our staff to engage in leveraging our ability to apply for Medicaid reimbursement for services we're providing, like speech language services, personal care, toileting, and feeding. So our staff will then note the services we're providing. We then bill back the federal government, who reimburses us the proportion of those services, and it generates revenue for us.
Thank you. Any further questions on this item?
Revenue to support the work
That's correct.
that's happening.
Seeing no further questions, I'll call for the vote. Ms. Fate?
Aye.
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 Aye. We'll move to the second action item. The recommendation for F2 is a post factum approval to enter into agreement with Arizona State University, setting forth the terms under which they will place student interns within the district for purposes of fulfilling teacher and/or administrator preparation requirements for the 2017-2018 school year. There is no cost to the district. Is there a motion to approve F2?
Second.
Questions regarding F2? Mr. Percival?
President Schreiber, do we have any idea how many, or what's the number of these interns we would anticipate seeing from Arizona State?
I'm going to ask Mr. Nafsker to come answer that question. I don't know that off the top of my head.
Unfortunately, Mr. Percival, I don't know the exact number on those, but when we do see out-of-state interns coming in, those are typically local students that have gone out of state. They're going to return to us, so they're coming back. So I would say in this case, it's probably a single student coming in to do their student teaching. It wouldn't be more than one or two in most cases coming from out of state.
Okay, thanks.
Further questions on this? I'll call for the vote. Ms. Shelton?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're going to turn to the information agenda. So these are the items that Dr. Gist described as first coming to the board and the public to learn about and discuss, and we'll see them on a future agenda, either on action or consent. So Dr. Gist will present this portion of the agenda.
Yes, ma'am. So this is that moment where we have items to review and discuss, and we're going to begin with items G1 through G6. These will be presented by our Chief of Schools, Dr. Eric Green. He will provide that introduction. We also have our Chief Operations Officer, Blaine Young, and members of his team who can provide updates on upcoming facility improvements. And we actually have a presentation that we're going to share with the board to make sure that that's really clear and we can address questions and discuss at that point. Dr. Green.
Thank you, Dr. Gist, Madam President, members of the board. Item G1 enters into a routine agreement with the Junior League of Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's for Memorial High School's prom. Item G2 is also a routine item related to Webster's prom. It's entering into an agreement with Tulsa Zoo as a host space for their prom. Item G3 is to renew the agreement with the Asia Society to continue Booker T. Washington's status as a member of the Hanban Asia Society Confucius Classrooms Network from February the 21st, 2018 through June 30th, 2018. There's no cost to the district. This is Booker T. Washington's 9th year participating in the program. Item G4 enters into an agreement with the Juvenile Bureau of the District Court of Tulsa County, operating the Phoenix Rising Alternative School to pay the salary and benefits of a half-time art teacher during the 2017-2018 school year this year. And the cost, inclusive of benefits, is not to exceed $21,000 $1,212. Item G5 is to relocate the Bell Primary School from the Bell Primary Building to the Bell Upper Building, beginning in the 2018-2019 school year. This, we'd be serving all students in the same building, and this would help staff and administrators to provide a more consistent and aligned instructional program. Item G6 is to relocate Tulsa Honor Academy Charter School from the East Side Academy to the Bell Primary Building on or around July 1st, 2018. This move would allow Tulsa Honor Academy to continue their approved growth while serving students within a quality educational space that meets their educational needs.
Questions from the board regarding any of these items?
We actually have more information, but we can take questions now, too.
Ms. Shelton, would you mind to defer? Do you want to let Blaine do his presentation and then, or Mr. Young, and then we'll take questions?
Either way.
Okay, thank you. Let me just get the PowerPoint set up here. Okay, good evening, Dr. Guest, Madam President, members of the board. It is our pleasure to bring to you tonight a facilities update for work that is being done in the district and work that is being proposed. As we get into this update tonight, I will provide an introduction to provide context of the types of facility work going on in the district, connect that work back to Destination Excellence, talk about some beliefs that we've established as we've done our facilities planning, and also talk about challenges and changes as a result of the planning that we've had underway. After I give the broader context of our facilities work, I'm going to be joined by our Instructional Leadership Director, Estella Bitson, who will talk to you specifically about the Bell reconfiguration and also about the Tulsa Honor Academy move. And then finally, our Director of Bond, Chris Hudgens, will come and talk to you about facilities updates that is much of the ongoing work that we have going on underway now and work that's planned for this summer. As I said, our work always connects back to Destination Excellence. It's always ultimately about serving our students, making sure that we provide them the resources that they need, that our teachers need, that our principals need to succeed. We always tie our work back to our core values of equity, character, excellence, team, and joy, connecting to this work. And I just say about equity for Destination Excellence means that ensuring that every student and every school has the resources they need to succeed in instruction. So as we've worked on our facilities planning, as you know, the district has many facilities across about 173 miles. Our facilities are one of our most important assets by which to serve our students and our communities. And so as we look at that work, we realized that it was very important to be grounded on a set of beliefs that would guide us in how we invest in our facilities, how we plan around all of the things that go on in them. So you'll see here that we identified these beliefs to help guide us in that work. All students must have equitable access to neighborhood and district program options. Additionally, we recognize and want to support exceptional learning experiences are a critical factor in a successful building strategy. In addition, we want to support our neighborhoods and our communities by ensuring that we have high-quality programs that meet student needs. And then finally, as we're planning our facilities, we want to ensure that we're making fiscally responsible investments in our buildings and in our programs. These beliefs guided us in these priority focus areas. First of all, fostering on strong community and school connections. Tulsa Public Schools are community schools. There's absolutely a connection between the communities and the schools that reside in those communities, and we want to make sure that that connection is fostered. We also, as we looked at the various grade configurations across the district, we recognize that we have many. And so looking at how we align those grade configurations over time to ensure consistency across our system, we felt was very important. And then finally, we want to make sure that our buildings are all effectively utilized. We found that in analyzing our student population across the district, that we have many buildings that are underutilized while we have others that are overutilized and often manifested by trailers that are on those campuses to accommodate the students. So in looking at the varying grade configurations that we have in our current configuration, what does that look like? Well, we have across our neighborhood schools 14 distinct grade configurations, 7 for elementary and then 7 for secondary. However, if you contrast that to our magnet and application schools, there's only 5, 1 for elementary and 4 for secondary. So you can see that there's a much clearer path through our magnet and our application-based programs versus our community schools. Entry points to secondary schools can be confusing. It's very possible that a student who wishes to leave their neighborhood school to go in a magnet program may actually have to leave early in order to be able to join the magnet program. Magnet application programs, on the other hand, have a far more consistent grade configuration. What could district grade configurations look like as we standardize them? Well, they would have consistent breakpoints across the whole system. Pre-kindergarten would be the universal entry point into the district. And such a configuration, standard elementary grade configurations would be pre-K through 5 and pre-K through 8. And then secondary grade configurations would be 6 through 8, 9 through 12, and 6 through 12. So that's the work in terms of the broader perspective that we have undertaken in our facilities planning. Each year we have to execute against a composite of that work to continue to move the district forward in our investments in our facilities and our programs. There are specifically program moves that we want to propose to the board tonight. And so for 2018-19, the proposals that we're making would provide aligned, cohesive learning programs for all students while minimizing school transitions. We would maximize utilization of district facilities and resources and relieve overcrowding and underutilization at school sites. Now we're going to get into some of the specifics of these changes that we're proposing to the board tonight for Bell and for Tulsa Honor Academy, and I'm going to ask Instructional Leadership Director Estella Bitson to come and join.
Thank you, Blaine. I want to share with you our current reality as well as our vision for Bell Campus. At Bell, we currently have 538 pre-K through 6th grade students spread out over 2 buildings, Bell Primary and Bell Upper. This campus was designed to serve nearly 1,000 students. Bell Campus is currently operating at less than 70% capacity. At the same time, we have Tulsa Honor Academy that has outgrown their current facility that they share with College Bound Academy. Our vision and proposed changes for Bell Campus will include the 538 Bell students pre-K through 6th grade moved into the Upper Bell building, which is currently designed for 665 students. That means all of the students in both buildings will be accommodated. After this summer's modification at Bell Upper, we will have the capacity to serve over 700 students, so Bell will have room to grow. The vision for the Bell campus also includes the relocation of Tulsa Honor Academy into the Bell Primary building, where they will be able to grow through their full 5th through 8th grade structure. This is a Google map of the Bell campus. As mentioned earlier, this campus is designed to serve nearly 1,000 students. If you look right here, this is Bell Upper. This is where all Bell pre-K through 6th grade students will be located. And in the opposite corner is Bell Primary. This is where Tulsa Honor Academy will be located. Safety is our district's top priority. Both schools will have their own playground space. We will be adding a new fenced-in early childhood playground. Bell Elementary will also have a new secure front entrance where all visitors will have to enter through the front office. Both schools will operate as separate buildings. They will have their own office space, library, cafeteria, and a safe bus drop-off area. At this time, I'm pleased to introduce and invite up to speak to you Principal Blakeney to speak about the benefits and opportunities of combining all Bell pre-K through 6th grade into Bell Upper Building.
Good evening. I have the privilege of serving students, staff, and families of Bell Elementary and Bell Primary. Based on my school leader review on the benefits of school consolidation, our students would benefit by one, cohesion of programming, which will allow teachers to vertically and horizontally align to be able to collaborate more effectively, thereby addressing many of the gaps in instruction. For example, a planning model for walk to read for a response to intervention, for literacy and for numeracy. Also, to increase the positive school culture and climate that currently exists. We currently navigate by operating Bell Upper and Bell Primary. Siblings will have a traditional elementary experience. However, our pre-K through 2nd grade would be structured to have their own space within the building. For example, pre-K would have their own wing, K through 2 would have their own hallway, etc. This will enhance our school spirit of community, which already exists. Rather than the Bell Primary way and the Bell Upper way, it will simply be the Bell way.
At this time, I'd like to invite Director of Bond, Chris Hudgens, to come. He's going to provide you a summary of the updates that will be going on for 18-19 on the rest of our campuses.
Thank you, Blaine. So I wanted to share, first off, each year the district executes multiple summer construction projects. We have listened. This is a reduction in what we've done in the past. So I wanted to share some of the specific projects that we're going to be doing. We're going to be replacing 18 trailers that are housing 31 classrooms. That's going to be moving 750 students into new permanent classroom additions this summer. We've got 5 new FEMA safe rooms that will be completed. This will add to the 7 that we currently have, so that'll give us 12 campuses that will have FEMA safe rooms, and that's a tornado shelter at every school. We have 3 school-wide interior improvements. That is Disney, McKinley, and Anderson. 2 HVAC projects at Kendall Whittier and Owen, and 8 secure school entries. Now I wanted to share with you some of our projects that we have under construction. As the students and faculty come back to Key Elementary, we're going to experience an 8 classroom addition. This classroom will be completed. We will have the trailers removed. And this will also act as a safe room for the entire student body. McKinley Elementary classroom and safe room addition. This will include 10 classrooms, as well as a new secure entry, a new office. The best thing about this is going to be our off-street parking and a safe drop-off for parents. Our next project is Emerson Elementary addition. This, what we're looking at, is a 6 classroom, the early childhood addition at Emerson. This is going to be our newest Montessori school. The next picture that we're looking at is our safe room. This safe room is going to also be the auditorium for the school. We're excited. This project is on schedule for completion in July. Our next project is McClure Elementary. Consists of 13 classrooms. We will be replacing all of the trailers. This project, we found an unknown gas line that's caused about a 4 to 6 week delay. We're working to get this project back on schedule, and as soon as the new classrooms are done, we'll be moving the kids out of the trailers directly into the new classrooms. Next project is Whitman Elementary. This consists of a new library. Once the library is complete, we'll be renovating the existing library and removing the 2 prefabs that consist of 4 classrooms. This will also consist of a safe room for the entire student body. Our next project is McLean Senior High School Field House. This project just got underway. It will not be done by August. We're looking at a January, February completion. This will be a new competitive gymnasium and an auxiliary gym side by side. I wanted to share with you some modifications. We have listened. Our community feedback helped us inform some design decisions to create more separation from our 8th grade from the senior high. This summer, we're going to plan on separating the entries. We're going to create 2 secure entries, both for the junior high and senior high. This will separate, we'll have a junior high classroom wings monitored with glass doorways, separate upper class cafe and commons area, and a canopy walkway connecting the northeast wing to the cafeteria. Updated camera systems throughout with monitoring of all exterior doors. Now I wanted to share with you what we were looking at. This being the 8th grade wing, which would be completely separated. We also have secure entry from the west side. This would be the 8th grade entry. This is the high school entry. This is the glass doors that would separate the high school and 8th grade wing. This is a blow up of what the secure entry would do. It would force everybody to the main office. Currently, right now, you have to walk through the school and go into the office. This would allow everybody to be checked into the office before they would be allowed into the school. Our next improvement that we talked about is the canopy that would connect the northeast wing to the cafeteria. The cafeteria would be remodeled. This would create additional seating for the senior commons area, as well as 2 classrooms. Some of the other projects that I did mention, renovation, Anderson, Disney and Elementary, and McKinley Elementary. HVAC projects, Owen and Kendall Whittier.
Thank you, Chris. Dr. Gist, Madam President, members of the board, this does conclude our update tonight. The team stands ready to answer any questions that you may have.
Ms. Shelton.
Thank you. I'm grateful to the voters of Tulsa for approving all of these projects. I know my principals are very grateful for these changes. I had a question going back to G6. Will there be significant renovations required to move Tulsa Honor Academy into Bell Primary, since it is a middle school moving into an early childhood?
And I'll ask Director Chris Hudgens to answer that.
Thank you, Ms. Decker. There are 3 classrooms located on the north wing that's actually going to be reconstructed to 4 classrooms, and there will be some minor improvements in the kitchen, and that's the extent of it.
Further questions from the board? I want to reiterate Ms. Shelton's comments. Don't want to ever let a moment like that go by without saying that the voters in Tulsa, I'm sure many of you in this room are the people who approved the bonds to make all of that work possible, so appreciate it. There's people in here that have been on bond committees and bond oversight committees, and it really takes a village to make all of this happen, so very grateful for the voters of Tulsa consistently supporting the bonds in the district.
Thank you so much, Mr. Young. Thank you to members of the team. Principal Blakeney and our instructional leadership director, Estelle Bitson, and Chris Hudgens for sharing that information with us. I want to echo what Board Member Shelton and President Schreiber said about the voters of Tulsa supporting us with bonds so that we're able to continue each year to make additional improvements to our schools, make sure our schools are safe, secure entries, safe spaces, getting students out of trailers, which we know in Oklahoma is something we strive hard to do. So lots of really great work, and appreciate the support that we receive from Tulsa to be able to make those things happen. We'll move on to items G7 through G9. These will be presented by our Deputy Superintendent, Paula Shannon, on behalf of our Chief Learning and Talent Officer, Devin Fletcher. Ms. Shannon.
Thank you, Dr. Guest. Members of the board, item G7 is a teaching and learning item. It will enter into a facilities usage agreement with the University of Tulsa to house the 2018 High School Kravis Spring Arts on March 8th, 2018 and March 10th. And the 2018 High School Kravis Summer Arts Camp, June 18th through the 29th, on the University of Tulsa campus in the Phillips Hall building. The Kravis Arts program, now in its 16th year, allows high school students to receive instruction from University of Tulsa professors on the University of Tulsa campus. It's an incredibly cool program, and we're super pleased that students have this opportunity. Students will engage in advanced level coursework utilizing state-of-the-art equipment in the art department building. Along with the summer arts program, we're introducing an additional mini spring arts experience. I'll pause for any questions.
No questions, board members?
Thank you, Ms. Shannon. Moving on to items G10 through G11.
Dr. Gist, sorry to interrupt. I wasn't quite done yet. That was the
I'm
teaching
sorry.
and learning part. I have the talent part now.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry.
No worries.
Item G8 is a recommendation to approve position creations and deletions. There are, just to go over some of the key ones, enrollment and student information registrar. We are actually changing the position as it currently exists, which is a 195-day position to respond to our constituents and families so that we can continue to improve service and turn this into a 12-month position. We are deleting a homebound teacher position. On the next agenda, you'll see how that provides teachers to support Trace Academy and Project Accept. And then we're creating a school psychology supervisor and a speech pathologist supervisor in response to the ongoing support we need to provide to those teams, as well as to our schools. One of the things that the supervisor will do is provide ongoing professional learning, support the speech pathologists as well as the school psychologists, and will fill in for vacancies when those exist to support the schools. I think I covered all of those. And then finally, item G9 is a recommendation to purchase services from Battelle for Kids to create a database of market compensation levels, including regression analyses to gain insights into current and future compensation practices. This is something that we are engaged in with teacher compensation. We also want to make sure that we're being mindful of how that impacts school leadership positions. It is best practice to do something like this roughly every 5 years, and we haven't done this for some time, so want to make sure that we understand what we're currently doing, what's going well with what we're currently doing, and what we can improve upon. I'm now finished.
Ms. Marshall?
I'd like to go back to the updates on McLean as far as the safety. Are we doing anything in relationship to the enhancements on the outside entryway to provide for safety in the parking area or the outside entry area?
Yes, ma'am. We are, in fact, with the support of our team and the advocacy and leadership of Principal Williams, we have installed sensors on the doors and cameras, and maybe you can talk specifically about the status of those, but to make sure that students or anyone aren't able to go in and out those doors without monitoring happening. So those sensors were being created. Right now, because of the construction that's happening with the field house, there's not access from that particular door, but this includes other doors as well. I don't know if there's a status update on where we are with those. I know they were in process right now.
I can give you that status update. That was completed last week. So I believe there's approximately 20 cameras that were added, and we also now have, we are notified when any of the exterior doors are opened.
But can we see what's happening with our 8th grade students when they're on the outside of the building?
That was one of the reasons why we added the additional cameras on the exterior, and those have just been added in the last few weeks.
And are those cameras being monitored continuously?
We monitor our cameras through our campus police department. We have the ability to access and monitor cameras, and there, in the instance where there are sensors, then there's a notification about a particular need to monitor in a certain location. I think based on our previous conversations, Board Member Marshall, I think it would be a good idea to sit down with you to talk about what is and is not included in camera coverage, because based on what I think you're getting at and some of the concerns that you've raised about parking lot, I think it would be, I don't believe we have full exposure to parking lot, but I think it would be good to sit down and talk through that with you and look at the cameras and see what we have and where we might be able to make some additional improvements. If you're getting at what I think, getting it based on what you've talked with me about. So right now it's door exposure, but not necessarily parking lot.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out if we know what's happening on the parking lot, because I've raised a concern about an issue that happened that I've been told that didn't happen, but I know it did happen.
We have cameras that are now installed on the doors to ensure that students are not leaving when they're not supposed to be leaving. I think the issue that you're raising about monitoring of the parking lots, unless the team is prepared to talk tonight about monitoring the parking lots, which I don't think we are, I think that that's something that we should follow up on so that we can see if there are things that we can do to improve monitoring of activities in the parking lot.
Okay, thank you.
Move on. Item G10.
Now, we're ready to go to G10. So thank you, Board Member Marshall and others. Thank you, Ms. Shannon, for that presentation. Items G10 through G11 will be presented by our Chief Information and Analytics Officer, Stephen Fedor. Mr. Fedor.
Thank you, Superintendent Gist, Board President Schreiber, members of the board. Item G10, really excited about. It's an agreement to enter, or recommendation to enter into an agreement with Sprint of Carroll Stream, Illinois for the period of August 22nd, 2018 through August 21st, 2019 for the Sprint 1 Million project. This is our second of 4 opportunities to renew this Sprint 1 Million program award. You may remember us bringing this about a year ago when we are ready to enter into our first agreement with Sprint. Sprint 1 Million provides free wireless service internet to high school students from economically disadvantaged households that lack high-speed internet. The objective of the program is to increase the likelihood that participating students can stay on track in school by leveraging take-home technology to complete course assignments and advances in personalized learning. Tulsa Public Schools is currently piloting the program with 250 students at Tulsa Met and Memorial High School. During the second year, so the 18-19 school year, we plan to roll out at least 540 more units. That's 540 additional hotspots to send home with students. In the second year, locations have not yet been determined, but we're working with ILDs, instructional leadership directors and principals to identify the sites for the 18-19 school year. Sprint is requesting an early confirmation so they can have the devices to us prior to summer so we can get them out, which is why we're bringing it a little bit early to the board. Item G11 is a recommendation to enter into an agreement with Northwestern Evaluation Association, allowing the district to receive a digital copy of their proprietary learning standards called the Learning Continuum. associated with the measures of academic progress, commonly referred to as MAP. This will allow us within the data team to do more rich analysis related to these learning standards. Happy to answer any question on either of those items.
Any questions from board members? Dr. Decker.
Thank you, President Schreiber. This seems of great value to the students, because even if you put each hotspot at about $100, that's up to $50,000. So I just wanted to call that out. And also ask if the students have to qualify to receive the hotspot. Is there an application process?
Yeah, thank you for that. So it certainly is a great opportunity and a sizable investment that we're excited to have made in Tulsa Public School students. There is an application process that goes throughout the school, so all students are encouraged to apply, and then there is a ranking order based on need, based on income, as well as access to high-speed internet at homes. And we try to get it to as many students as possible. This year we were able to get it to students who did have access to internet at home, but this was a faster capability, so we hope to continue to reach all students who apply who don't have high-speed internet access at home as we continue to roll out.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Decker, and thank you, Mr. Fedor. It's exciting to see that rolling out. We know our students having accessibility at home is really important. Moving on to item G12. G12 recommends approval of the expansion of KIPP Tulsa Academy College Preparatory Charter School. I'm recommending that the board approve a high school expansion of KIPP Tulsa Charter School for the 2018-2019 school year. This expansion will enable KIPP Tulsa to open KIPP Tulsa University Prep High School, a complement to the middle school they've been operating for 12 years. The high school expansion is designed to grow one grade level per year, starting with 125 students in the 2018-2019 school year. They'll reach full enrollment in the 2021-2022 school year with a total of 480 students. I support KIPP's expansion request, and I'm confident that they will continue to prepare students for success in college and in the competitive world beyond. Our recommendation to approve this expansion is driven at its core by the performance that we've seen to date and over the last decade. In particular, last month the board approved a 5-year renewal of the current charter that KIPP holds for the middle school. Over their last term, KIPP Tulsa met or exceeded all of the charter performance expectations. In the most important dimension of charter performance, which is student outcomes, we see that approximately 75% of KIPP students met or exceeded growth goals. Most students gain 1 year's worth of growth each year, and many gain more than 1.5 years of growth in a year. And after they graduate, KIPP alumni continue their trajectory of academic success. They have a college matriculation and persistence rate that are 6 times higher than the national average for low-income students. So our recommendation is certainly around academic success, but isn't limited to that. There are other important factors that our team will address momentarily. But I do want to take an opportunity to publicly address a concern that has been raised by community members to me directly, indirectly to others, and including in the meeting that we had at McLean High School last Thursday night. I think it's very important for folks to know that there is not a relationship between the application for KIPP expansion and the long-term vision for McLean Junior High, High School, or the McLean 7th Grade Center. There has been a concern that we were looking to close McLean High School and have the KIPP High School instead of McLean High School. I think it's important to know that KIPP will be moving into a private facility that is suitable to their needs. And we are investing heavily in the success at McLean and have seen a number of things that have improved in McLean, including student attendance. The graduation rate has risen significantly, and we are actually growing students at McLean Junior Senior High School. We're also in the midst, as you saw just a moment ago, we're in the midst of millions of dollars of improvements to facilities to benefit McLean students, and are responding directly to feedback that we've gotten to the community about additional work that we need to do to support the junior high students at that campus. So we're continuing our work at McLean and with the McLean programs, and I look forward to continuing to work with the community to address the concerns that that have been expressed, and also to follow up on the conversation that we've been having about the McLean 7th Grade Center. So I just wanted to address that because the connection has been drawn to this particular topic, and I wanted to assure the community that those two things are not related. I'm now going to hand it over to Andrea Castaneda, who will share some additional detail regarding the application from KIPP for an expansion into high school.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I'm pleased to introduce this important topic to you and discuss it on its merits, which are in many ways extraordinary and in most ways measurable. The superintendent summarized some of KIPP's academic performance, and that as one of our most important measures of any charter school decision. I think it is fair to say that KIPP is serving and has served North Tulsa students at extremely high levels. And we can say that both when we compare their performance to overall district performance and when we compare their performance to the performance within KIPP's academic enterprise zone, which is localized around North Tulsa. In addition to looking at past academic performance, we also take a very close look at the details of their actual application. It is important that they have served students well because it is a privilege to serve Tulsa public students. But it is also important that they have a viable plan for their own growth. And in this case, KIPP has put together an extremely detailed proposal that includes a significant investment in a school leader who's been on a fellowship journey to prepare to open a school like this one. It also includes a really detailed and thoughtful plan about the entire academic program. I do not exaggerate when I tell you that there are portions that are minute-by-minute schedules of how various parts of their academic program will unfold. There is a very detailed approach to thinking about staff excellence and staff retention, and they have dedicated a lot of thought to the culture that they're building in their school and the ways in which it is a complement to the various other high schools that we see across our district and in North Tulsa. I also think that it is important to note that they'll be opening in what's a defined zone, which is within the geographic areas of North Tulsa. But they also are going to be, they have a current class that is 75 students. Those students have historically spread largely throughout the district when they have matriculated into high school. So 60%, give or take a few percentage points, of the KIPP's 8th grade students tend to go to a combination of Booker T, Edison, and Rogers. 25% of those students leave TPS, and the remainder spread out amongst neighborhood schools. And so the KIPP high school expansion is not only an opportunity to serve North Tulsa students even better and to serve even more at this level of academic excellence, it's also an opportunity to bring students back into our system who are opting to exit upon the decision of high school. There are a few important details I want to highlight about the specific program that they're proposing for expansion. You have a 2-page summary in front of you, but a few quick things that I do want to call your attention to. One is that they are planning an AP for All program with the goal of having all students having taken 5 AP courses by the time that they complete their academic experience in the high school. I also think it's important to note that they've set high targets for themselves around ACT performance, and ultimately I think that connects to a broader and sustained vision around not merely college matriculation, but college persistence and completion. I'll conclude my comments now. I think we have a few people that are signed up, and then I'll take questions as you may have them afterwards.
Before I call for those requesting to speak to this item, I see a couple of empty chairs. If you have an empty chair next to you and someone wants a seat, if you have an empty chair, if you can raise your hand. So there's a couple seats over here if anybody wants them. We will proceed to the speakers on this item. We're going to begin with Mr. Anthony Fisher.
Dr. Geis and members of the board. My name is Anthony Fisher, and I am an alumni of KIPP Tulsa University School. I graduated in 2010, and my experience as a KIPP student was probably one that all students from my area of North Tulsa should be not necessarily given, but have an opportunity to. My time at KIPP was a combination of being able to experience things outside of my realm of North Tulsa, Tulsa in general, and Oklahoma in the greater area. I was able to see the world of politics going to Washington, D.C. I was able to experience the different museums and cultural arts that our country had to offer, going to Chicago and many other places, places that students like me from my area don't get the opportunity to see because there is no opportunity. As I matriculated from KIPP Tulsa to Booker T. Washington High School, there was definitely a fragment in my time from KIPP Tulsa to high school. Many students my age and my classmates weren't necessarily ready for the challenge that high school presented, and many struggled and many succeeded. I myself am one that succeeded, coming from KIPP Tulsa, a school that offered the challenge, but also took a lot of sacrifice and time and effort and a little bit of love from many of my teachers at KIPP Tulsa. Without KIPP Tulsa, I would not be in the position that I'm in today, which I currently attend Oklahoma State University and in my last year. Without KIPP Tulsa, I wouldn't be majoring in information systems security. And without KIPP Tulsa, I would not be afforded the opportunity to achieve higher education and higher opportunity in the competitive world. So a KIPP High School should be a no-brainer. Many students like me don't want a handout, they just want an opportunity. And with an opportunity, we can show you what we can do with a little time, effort, and love. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Ms. Anita Mosley, our next speaker. Here she is.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Anita Mosley, and I had 3 kids that came out of KIPP Tulsa, went over to 2 at Booker T, 1 at Edison. All 3 are in college. They came home in 5th grade talking about college. I wasn't expecting to do that until they were sophomores, freshmen, whatever. But KIPP put it in their heads. You can do it. They do follow the kids, the motto, KIPP Tulsa, KIPP through college. And that's what they do. My kids never would have had the opportunity they had if they hadn't gone to KIPP. I just, the end of the year field trips, they look forward to that. As Anthony Fisher said, you can't get that at any other school. Just being honest. My kids have left KIPP years ago, but I still feel we're family. Because once you enter the doors, you are family, you stay family. I still stay in touch with many of them, Facebook, everything. So I love KIPP. So Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Mr. Andrew McCray.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Gist, and esteemed members of the Tulsa School Board. My name is Andrew McCray, and I have the great honor and privilege of being the Executive Director of KIPP Tulsa. And for the last 5 years, I worked in North Tulsa as the school leader of KIPP Tulsa College Preparatory. There isn't much more I can say tonight that hasn't been said. But what I do want to talk about is an idea. You see, in 2004, a group of concerned educators, passionate community members, and leaders in North Tulsa were thinking about doing something different. They were thinking about how can we make an idea, a simple idea, that no matter who you're from, where you're from, no matter who you are, and no matter what your challenges may be, that you can go to and through college. That simple idea led those passionate community members to reach out to KIPP. And a year later, KIPP Tulsa College Preparatory was born. Over the past 12 years, we've evolved. Our relationship with Tulsa Public Schools has evolved. Our relationship became a partnership. You see, we've grown from that small contract co-located school in McKinley in Lindsay Elementary into a college prep charter school based on the idea that demography does not determine destiny. We've also worked together to create a culture of partnership and not derision. We've partnered together to innovate in educational practices, in spaces. And over the last 6 years, we've seen our sector grow to see kids all across Tulsa have more opportunities and on the pathway to more college. You've heard from our families and the voices of our alumni. You've had an opportunity to vet and see our school design plan. And you have the opportunity to look back on what's a decade-long track record of results. I stand here really proud tonight. I'm proud because we've continued to work together. I'm proud because we've taken the time to build a partnership that sets kids up for success. The coalition of parents, community leaders behind you, behind me, we're all here because we want to do more together. We're asking you for the opportunity to partner together. We're asking you for the privilege to send more kids to college. I want to say thank you. I'm continue to be humbled by your willingness to put your faith and trust in us and the parents in our community that continue to believe in the promise. No matter who you are, no matter where you're from, you can go to and through college. Thank you all for your time and your continued support, and we look forward to partnering more in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCray. Our final speaker is Mr. Darrell Bright. Final speaker on this item.
Board members, Dr. Gist. Boy, tonight I represent you, before you, and I'm representing my own organization, Citizens United for a Better Educational System. I'm also the PTSA president of McLean High School and on McLean Foundation. We have some geniuses and some hardworking people at McLean. Quote in the paper said, Mr. McCray did not want to take over McLean. How long have we been talking about the same things that we heard tonight? We shouldn't have to worry about a takeover of McLean. McLean accepts everyone that comes to the front door. 18th principal right now in 30 years. I've been coming before the board 30 years, asking for the very same things you said. What is the problem? I've seen demonstration schools, charter schools, partnership schools, Kendall Whittier, Edison Prep, and Magnet School, and a Montessori school, and soon a KIPP High School. And it was a very short walk to get those things on the agenda and passed. 30 years. What's going on? 30 years, huh? What? We shouldn't be saying anything about it? We should not be worried about McLean being taken over. Dr. Gist, board members, we had a transition team that was supposed to have started in July. What month is this? You got about 6 weeks before school's out because testing will start, and after that season is generally over. We were supposed to develop a what? Improvement plan and help the new principal transition. What happened? I have inquired. Look, we're one community. We cannot let KIPP or from McLean or District 3 and District 2, those are set up for bureaucratic reasons, for voting. We're one community. Isn't that right? We're one community. Well, I don't see a lot of folks clapping, but we're one community. Now, I think we deserve, at McLean and that feeder pattern, why this continues to date. And I challenged the graduation rate too. If you disaggregate it, you'll find out there aren't a lot of children walking across that stage, career and college ready. Let's be real. Now, I'll say this. I applaud KIPP. We never want to see another school fail. We don't want to steal from Peter to pay Paul. You have enough money. You have enough brain power sitting in this room. We have to demand change. I've been involved in that school for a long time, and a lot of schools here on the north side. Get on the ground. Talk to the principals. Talk to the teachers. Empower them. Give them what is the purpose of education in the 21st century for the context and a vision, and let them go. How dare you? Each one of you have this book. Each one of you. I've heard from one in any detail, and that's Janetti Marshall, about what's in this book. And it's our history, 161 pages of chronology of programs that did not work for our schools. Do you realize how many children that is that have gone through this school who have been ground to dust, never reached their potential? Some made it. Some made it despite of the system, not because of it. I haven't heard from you. I haven't heard from you. 2.5 years to put this together. 2.5 years. How dare you? This is not just our story, it's the story of North Tulsa schools. And it's just from our perspective. But I guarantee you it comes from the heart, and it talks real truth to power. You don't want to look in the mirror. This is a systemic issue. It starts with you, the moral authority, and Dr. Gist, the moral authority. If you don't do anything, what else is going to happen? Our children are suffering because of it. Good luck to KIPP.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bright. I think we have an opportunity for board members to ask questions regarding the KIP application. I know Ms. Marshall has questions.
Do we have an address yet that the KIP group will be moving into for their inaugural class of 125?
They're going to be moving into a private facility, and they're in final negotiations with 2 different locations. I do not have the address.
Okay. Let me make a comment then. We find ourselves at a point where a community is torn. We have Tulsa Public Schools saying, we believe in equity, and that's what we want to offer. We have KIP, who has offered education from a charter perspective with a proven track record. We have McLean High School that is struggling within our community. But we have a foundation, we have alumni, we have a community that's saying, we feel that our school is about to be taken. And then we have the element of mistrust, because people have been lied to, or they've been led to feel one way because I show you my hand, but I'm hiding something behind my back. There's a scripture in the Bible that said, don't let your good be evil spoken of. I believe KIP means to do well. But I believe that if they can come up with an address that will put to rest the belief that McLean is going to be taken over by KIP, then KIP can march on and do what they feel that they have been called to do in the area of education. And they can get a pat on the back, a high five, a fist bump, and go ahead and do what you've been called to do. But right now, I believe that the application is going to cause dissension, and it's going to cause division within the community, and we don't need any more of that. So I would ask that by the time this comes back before the board, it comes back with an address, a location, and not a private place, because people need to know that they can be at rest and know that their heritage is not being taken away. The North Side, they don't have Booker T anymore. That's not theirs. McLean is all that they have, and they feel that that's about to be ripped away from them. So KIP, please, if you can, when you come back before this board, have that piece of information for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Marshall. Do we have further questions? Dr. Decker.
Thank you, President Schreiber. I'm going to ask a question just to make sure that everybody understands our charter law. So do charters have other options to be under state law, to be authorized other than applying to Tulsa Public Schools?
Yes, they do. They can, do you want to take this, Ms. Burke? A public charter school can be authorized by Board of Education, but there are other authorizers, and so one of the most common authorizers in the Tulsa area, other than the Tulsa Public Schools, is Langston University. And in the event that under the charter law, the way it's written, that if a school district declines an application from a public charter school, that can be appealed to the State Board of Education, and the State Board of Education then can insert itself into the decision. And at that point, they force the district to charter, or they charter directly?
In that situation, it would be chartered directly by the State Board of Education.
Ms. Shelton.
A couple of things. I don't know if, Andrew, if you want to speak to this, or someone from KIP, but Could you give a sense of kind of the driving factor, the felt need? Are KIPSers not doing as well in high school as you would like for them to see, kind of the driving need behind the need for a high school?
I think that this question of need is in the end central to difficult decisions like the one that you guys are facing. And on one, I'll give you two examples of ways to think about need within this application. One is that they routinely fill their seats to and beyond capacity, and there are families that are on their wait list. So measured by family demand, they certainly demonstrate need. A second important way to think about demand and need is a comparison of academic performance. And I will say that if you take a look at the overall state assessment results, and by this I mean the most recent ones, the ones after everyone across this state saw a fall. KIPS was enrolling fifth graders that were demographically identical to everyone in their zone. And by the time they've had them for 1 year, their students were between tripling and quintupling proficiency rates on the state assessment. And that is yet another way to think about need.
Thank you. In terms of high school, though, are we seeing a fall off from that performance? And they hope to be able to maintain it at the high school level. Can you speak to that?
I think that in terms of high school, KIP's approach is actually one that we see in many high-performing systems, which is a desire to continue to serve their students between break grades and into high school so that they can achieve directly their immediate goals, which is to and through college. I haven't seen evidence, nor have I been presented with clear evidence that this is about specifically about the notion that other Tulsa high schools are failing to serve KIPSters so much as it is their desire to continue to serve them at ever higher levels themselves.
Further questions, Ms. Shelton?
I did have one more. This was kind of addressed earlier, but I think just looking at like numbers of students at McLean, numbers at Central, it doesn't look like on the surface that the North Side needs another high school of 500 students. Can you speak to that? Do you feel that this will be taking students from McLean and Central? I'm fearful of that for fewer resources available at those schools. So if you could speak to that, where are the kids coming from to support another high school?
I would actually like to start, and then I'll see if Ms. Castaneda wants to contribute. But I think the most important thing for all of us to know is that we do not have a shortage of students anywhere in Tulsa, including in North Tulsa. We have hundreds of students who leave our schools every year and don't go to school. Some of them are choosing to leave the district. Some of them are choosing other alternatives, either private schools or public charter schools outside of the ones that we charter. But we also have hundreds who are just leaving school. So we have the opportunity to expand and grow. We don't have a shortage of students. We need to do more to serve all of our students well. At McLean, for example, when I was transitioning and reviewing, becoming the superintendent and reviewing graduation rates, the graduation rate at McLean was about 40%. 40% of students were graduating, meaning the great majority of students were not graduating from high school. Today, the graduation rate is about 60%. It's not enough, but we've flipped that from 40 to 60 to 60 to 40 in terms of graduation. So we are serving more students, and the population there has grown. So yes, in a way, having a KIPP high school means that there's another choice for students. We actually think that having another choice for students is good. The responsibility that we have in the district is to make sure that every school is a good choice for students, and that if someone is choosing another alternative, they're not choosing it because their neighborhood school isn't of high quality. They're choosing it for a different reason, more specific to what they seek to get out of their school experience. Ms. Castaigne, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
I think your question specifically about impact on all Tulsa high schools, actually, is one that's worth quickly walking through. So at the beginning, you might have noticed that I walked you through the rough proportions of KIPP 8th graders, which is to say 60% roughly go to magnets, 25% leave our system. They exit before they ever enter a TPS high school, and about 15% disperse themselves across to other neighborhood schools. So with those proportions in mind, that's for their current class of about 75. When they scale up into their proposed high school model, there'll be 125 kids. Their goal is to retain 85% of their current class in their first year. And if we just apply those rough proportions, then I think what we can expect is something in the range of, although I emphasize it is very difficult to estimate this with precision, attempting to recruit about 60 students from all of the North Tulsa high schools. So that would be McLean, Central, Booker T, and TSAS as another charter partner. They'll be looking to retain 50 who would have otherwise attended neighborhood schools, and retain about 15 that would have otherwise left our system. Again, this is the application of rough percentages cut by retention goals and then applied generically, but I do think it gives us an order of magnitude level way to estimate impact across the whole system.
Other questions, board members? Ms. Castaneda, can you tell us, I remember seeing this, but I didn't contrast it to TPS, days in school and hours in the day that KIPP provides in contrast to a TPS neighborhood school or magnet for that matter?
I think I'm going to have to come back to you all with the details on that, although I can tell you that they're looking at about a 185-day school year.
Okay, thank you. No further questions?
So thank you to everyone, our speakers, board members, Ms. Castaneda, for a discussion on that item. We'll move on to items G13 through G15. These will be presented by our Chief Financial Officer, Nilberto Delgadillo. Mr. Delgadillo.
Thank you, Dr. Giss, Madam President, members of the board. Item G13 is to enter into a contract with Rosanna Anton, bilingual licensed clinical social worker, Broken Arrow. This is a routine item that every student succeeds at. Requires equitable participation for eligible students in area private non-public schools. And this cost is not to exceed $8,500. Item G14 is another routine item with respect to entering into a contract with Legacy Studios, Gettysville, New York, for student pictures and student yearbook. The expense of the district is really tied down to each school's individual school activity fund appropriated by the site account. The vendors collect the funds from students for pictures yearbooks, and then a commissioned check is sent to the school for deposit into the appropriate school's activity fund account.
Mr. Delgadillo, before you proceed, I know people are going home to their families, and I just want to make sure I thank everyone for being here and know that you're welcome to stay, but we also understand if people need to go, so please feel free and fill in the seats. If you can hear me in the extra rooms, please come in. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, of course. Definitely want to thank them. And so then item G15 is another routine item to approve sanctioning of the following booster clubs and parent-teacher associations according with Board Policy 5707 for this current year. And the sanction status provides organizations exemption from the statutory controls relating to school activity funds found in Oklahoma School Code. The board may sanction associations and clubs that advance the educational objectives of the district and are beneficial to the students under the guidelines established in Board Policy 5707. The organizations have submitted the required information to support their applications.
Okay, any questions? Thank you, Mr. Delgadillo. We'll move on to items G16 through G27. These will be presented by our Executive Director of Bond Projects, Chris Hudgens. Mr. Hudgens.
Thank you, Dr. Gist, President Schreiber, and board members. Items G16, 17, and 18 all relate to the interior renovation at Disney Elementary. This is a project that was part of the 2015 bond issue. It's currently in the bidding stage, and we'll bring it back next meeting with all the contractors and the cost associated with that project. G19, 20, and 21 are also associated with the interior renovation at McKinley Elementary. The construction manager on both of these is Crossland Construction, and it too is currently in the bidding stage, and we'll be bringing that back in the next meeting with all the contractors and cost associated with that project. The item G22 is to enter into a property damage release settlement with Burgraff Construction, CEI Enterprises, and Reliable Fire Protection. This is for damages that were done at Burroughs Elementary, and the total cost to the district is $9,000. Item G23 is to enter into an operational lease and capital lease with Midwest Transportation to acquire 22 CNG buses. We currently did this last year. This is to take advantage of our tax credit through the state of Oklahoma. We can't do it directly because we don't pay the taxes. So that goes to a third party. This will simply allow us to buy approximately one extra bus doing this process. And with this, these buses are stated to be delivered in July for the next school year. So this gives us a 6-month lead time so we can make sure that they're ready to roll when August 1st gets here. Item G24 is to approve the purchase of playground equipment from Children's Specialties. This is a 3-year contract, and we're renewing. This is the second year of this contract pricing agreement, and all of this playground equipment will be paid for through the 2015 bond issue. Items G25, 26, and 27 are amendments to the Crossland Construction again, and this is for the addition remodel at Emerson Elementary School. These changes were required to meet current building code requirements and structural and roofing conditions. Are there any questions?
Questions on any of the bond items?
I have a question on
Nope.
G22. I haven't seen an item like this come through before. So we're paying to settle for damages that were caused by contractors, what it looks like. So I
That
think
is
I'm
correct.
understanding. So why is it costing the district to settle with the contractor?
Well, in lieu of going to court, we did a mediation with these 3 entities, and we're paying equal. So we're paying a third of the damages.
Okay.
And so this is going to prevent us from all the attorney fees of actually going to court.
Further questions, Ms. Shelton? Ms. Keller?
Mr. Hudgens, I'm sorry. You may have mentioned, and I just did not hear you. On item G23, on our rationale, there is a blank spot indicating that a future monetary sum will be inserted there. Do you have a, was that an error?
No, there will be a sum inserted there, and just consent.
Okay.
And we're working out the details of
Microphone. Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Other questions on bond items? If not, we'll move on to the general counsel items.
Thank you, Mr. Hudgens, and thank you, board members, for those questions and clarifications. Items G28 and G29 will be presented by our General Counsel, Jana Burke. Ms. Burke.
Thank you, Superintendent Guest, President Schreiber, members of the board. Recommendation G28 is to approve an annual subscription to Thomson Reuters Westlaw Services to allow legal counsel and staff ability to research legal authorities and guidance. This is an item that we have every year. It allows us 12 months of ability to research legal authorities on a wide variety of topics, and the cost is not to exceed $5,500. Moving on to item G29, we propose revising school board policies 4901, 4902, and 4903, all describing and regarding non-discrimination. Over the past month, district staff has worked with our policy subcommittee as well as our talent management subcommittee to make important improvements and clarifications to our board policies regarding non-discrimination. And when I speak of non-discrimination, I'm speaking of discrimination in all of its forms, whether it's harassment, hostile environment, sexual harassment, or retaliation, taken in response to an individual's good faith complaint of reporting discrimination. The proposed changes do not alter the discrimination policies in any respect from a substantive nature in terms of altering protections. Instead, they improve the policy language by making it more concise and clear. We're going from 5 documents down to 2, specifically 3 board policies into 1 policy and 2 regulations into 1 regulation. In addition to this streamlining, we are also making very explicit the procedures for reporting discrimination allegations, as well as ensuring that all employees are aware of the obligation to report acts of discrimination. With your approval, we believe these modifications to board policy will improve our ability to communicate the obligations we have as a district, as well as provide any employees or students the appropriate procedures to report allegations of discrimination. Any questions?
Mr. Percival.
Board President Schreiber, could we take a look at the red line version of these so we could see what all we're winding up with and how they're being consolidated? And that may answer some questions that are occurring to you as I look to this one consolidated draft policy.
Yes, I'm assuming that those have been through policy, but we can provide those to the rest of the board?
Well, we can. In the essence, I could have a communication with you. We took 3 different policies with a wide variety of language, sometimes duplicating each other, and consolidated into one particular policy. So there's not an actual red line document since we're moving 3 policies into 1, but I can go through the particular provisions of each policy to show you any movement from one policy to another.
And what about the regulation as well, just for a better understanding of how this is going to be implemented under a new regulation?
That would be the same case, where we had 2 regulations moving into 1, where we had some duplication, sometimes some omission of procedures. We wanted to have 1 regulation that provided the best clarity possible over the definitions of the various topics, as well as the procedures for investigating allegations of discrimination and then responding to those allegations.
So I think, Mr. Percival, if it makes sense, to just spend time, make sure this is an action item next time, and spend time walking through what was merged, because I think that you raise a really important point, both for the board and the public to understand what is happening, but also this is actually a really important topic, and I think it bears spending some time doing that, Madam President. So thank you, Mr. Percival, and we'll be sure to do that. And I'll get with you in the meantime and make sure we cover what if you have any specific things you'd like to make sure we emphasize.
Well, I have one specific thing I'll go ahead and mention. I noticed that on page 38, the proposed revised policy 4901 in the first paragraph makes a statement that the district also provides equal access to the Boy Scouts of America and other designated youth groups. So on one hand, we call out one group, and then we have this other designated youth groups, and I'm kind of curious how that works and why, and so anyway, I'm just I support streamlining our non-discrimination policy, make sure it covers the waterfront that we intend to cover, but I'm just kind of curious about how we're achieving that.
We can actually address that one specifically tonight because there's a very direct reason why that was the case, and then more generally, we'll make sure that we go over it in detail at the next meeting.
We didn't pare down the language at all from the original and current policy to the proposed revision. We're taking the exact wording from policy 4901, putting it into our new 4901. This reflects our obligations under current law to make sure that the Boy Scouts of America have equal access to our facilities as any other youth organization might receive access.
Is that federal or state law, Ms.
Federal
Burke?
law.
Well, I'm still unclear on what a designated youth group amounts to.
Well, it would be any youth group that we allow access to our facilities before or after school. So we have a variety of tutoring organizations as well as clubs and service organizations that use our facilities both before and after school. And those organizations receive certain rights to those facilities with certain conditions, and we want to make sure that we follow federal law to allow the Boy Scouts that same exact right and access.
Okay, well, I look forward to the further clarification on this. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Percival. Thank you, Madam President and board members, and that concludes our information items for tonight.
Are there any staff reports this evening, Dr. Gist?
We do not have an additional staff report this evening, Madam President.
We'll move on to board member reports and concerns. I have a few routine things, but I want to defer to Dr. Decker, who's raising her hand.
Oh, you can go first if you want. All right. To the huge crowd here tonight, I love seeing an active, engaged, and passionate public. We're a public school district, and it's important for you to be involved, and I look forward to the citizens' comments. Over the past 3 weeks, I've worked to understand the concerns at Edison. I met with the PTSA board, along with Dr. Gist, Chief Green, and President Schreiber, and the PTSA board summarized their concerns into 5 areas. The first being lack of teacher respect and trust by administration. Number 2, lack of discipline and consequences. Number 3, failure to support high academic rigor in the fine arts program. Number 4, high teacher turnover. Number 5, placing state funding cuts on the backs of teachers. To further understand the concerns, I've talked and emailed with over 40 people about their specific experiences and thoughts. I've also reviewed relevant data, such as teacher turnover. And after digesting all of this information, it is clear to me that we need a hard reset, and we need it fast. Time is of the essence to ensure we retain our teachers and we retain our students. I want you to know that I'm not just professionally invested in Edison, I am also personally invested. I graduated from Edison, my husband graduated from Edison, and my 2 siblings graduated from Edison. My daughter's a 9th grader at Edison, and she attended the Edison Middle School. One of my daughter's teachers was the teacher who resigned recently. I'm an Edison parent volunteer, and you may see me at a teacher appreciation breakfast or on shadow days to welcome potential new families or to proctor for state exams. And I say all this because I want you to know that I'm deeply committed to ensuring Edison's success, and I welcome your feedback at any time. In spite of this turmoil, we have to remember the success of Edison and what we love about it. We love the academics. The AP Capstone program is one of only 4 in our state, and it was built by our own Edison administrators and teachers. Edison has the highest AP passing rate of any Tulsa public high school. And speaking of facilities, our beautiful Collegiate Center space shows students we honor them as scholars. The district is committed to sustaining and supporting our magnet program. Besides academics, we also love our award-winning arts, and it spans all the arts, from visual arts to literature and performing arts. And I want to specifically call out the annual Creeps Show because it is awesome. So I acknowledged we have problems, but we can fix our problems. But it takes a positive willingness on each of our parts, on each of the parts of parents, teachers, students, and administration to all work together. Let's please not be divisive. Instead, let's all prioritize. Let's prioritize listening and responding to teachers, creating systems and structures where teachers feel safe to share their concerns, and teachers are co-designing the solutions. This all being said, we must recognize that building excellent schools relies on adequate funding and teacher pay. While it may feel as if the state's cuts are placed entirely on teachers, I can assure you that that is not the case. All schools, all departments in the district office, all staff are being asked to do more, and we are desperate. The Oklahoma legislature returned to the Capitol today for the 2018 session. As the Tulsa World's editorial today says, "We won't sugarcoat things. The state of our state is bad." A related editorial over the weekend declares, "Now is the time. Light up the Capitol switchboard, fill their voicemail, bury them in email, demand attention." So, on all that, I close by saying I call on each of us to listen, respond, support, and advocate for teachers, to improve teacher morale at Edison, and to increase state funding. Let's work together collectively and productively. Our kids are relying on us. I'm all in, and I hope you are too.
Thank you, Dr. Decker, and I personally echo your remarks, I don't have a child at Edison, but I have 4 kids in Tulsa Public Schools, so the issues that have been raised at Edison have translate to many of our schools, and so everything that we want to focus on and learn from Edison can be applied elsewhere. So I want to thank you, Dr. Decker, for putting together your remarks so thoughtfully, and I most certainly echo them. I want to move on to a couple of more routine items, but very important. We have a representative on the Oklahoma State School Board Association who is a big organizing factor for allowing us to advocate for education of school board members and also at the Capitol. And I would like to thank Board Member Fate for agreeing to serve as our board's representative for the Region 4 Director. Ruth Ann has served in this capacity for the past 8 years. It requires her to travel all over the state. I think she may have broken a hip doing it once. And I appreciate her willingness, as I know my fellow board members do, to share her time, her expertise, and be a tireless advocate for TPS, and continually keep us informed of upcoming Oklahoma State School Board Association events and training opportunities. So thank you, Ruth Ann, from me and everyone.
I have one right now. May I make that announcement?
Please.
All right. We do have a conflict on the date, so we'll need to decide as a group which thing we're going to. On April 12th, there's a Regional 4 meeting, which is going to be hosted by Sand Springs. And we have the information here for you all to go ahead and put in your reservations. But if you need any credit hours, for those of you who don't know, school board members are required to have a certain number of credit hours each term. And you can get up to 3 special credit hours for this particular early meeting with that. but we will begin on Thursday, April the 12th, with a 5:30 meeting and then a dinner following with the state meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Fate. Quickly, as many of you know, we have been looking at the school names of all of our Tulsa public schools, and the Community Advisory Council has been the venue for that conversation. They are in the latter stages of drafting their report to be presented to the board. The working draft of the historical artifact section of the report on the site names is up. It's viewable on the website. It has been up since the 31st of January. And I would encourage everyone here to review that document, leave your feedback in the comments section. If you know pertinent information that should be included that was not, or if there's incorrect information, please note that in the comments sections. And if you have a citation for your facts, please leave those there as well. And we just appreciate you all engaging in that. The feedback period ends tonight. So I'm want to make everybody aware that that's an opportunity to spend the entire night thinking about Tulsa Public Schools. As you may not get out of here for a while, and then you can go home and look at the report if you haven't had an opportunity to do that. We appreciate everyone's effort that has helped us engage on that. Are there other board reports? No other board member reports. Okay, we will move on to our citizens' comments now. And before we do that, just want to quickly, again, thank everyone for participating. People that wanted to comment tonight were thinking about this ahead of time, and they filled out a citizens' comment form. Just quickly, there's a couple of rules of the road around that for those of you who have not done it before. There's just a few things that you have to avoid in your comments, so I would just want to make sure that you are aware of those. You cannot specifically address a pending grievance with the district. That means particular to you or someone else. That's an official grievance. A pending student disciplinary action, complaints against individual employees or pending employee complaints filed with the district or an outside agency. An employee disciplinary action, including a suspension or termination, and an issue in a pending lawsuit or complaint filed with an outside agency in which the district or its employees are parties. I've seen everybody's comments, topics, and I don't think that's going to be an issue, but I do want to make sure everybody is aware of that, and those are just because those are personnel matters, and oftentimes the board may be a body that has to review that, and we need to maintain our independence. So appreciate you all just following those guidelines as we go through the evening. And again, very happy to have you all here and looking forward to hearing the comments. We are going to begin with Ms. Rhonda Falkenstein, who will share information regarding the climate of Edison as discussed at a recent Edison PTA meeting.
I'm the PTSA president at Edison. Edison's gone through many changes in the past year and a half that now reveal a degraded learning environment. Following the teacher video and his subsequent public firing, parents and students had no guidance from the school administration and focused their questions to the PTSA. We hosted a public meeting with parents, teachers, and students, attended by nearly 200 people who showed up to express their concerns and frustrations. Teachers that were wary about speaking in public were able to express their feelings anonymously. Of the 91 teachers at Edison, 51 submitted written letters with their thoughts, good or bad, on the climate at Edison. Regrettably, there was only one that was positive towards the current administration. The rest spoke of fear, intimidation, and unprofessional behavior by the principal and her new assistant principal. They also expressed a lack of trust towards the ILD and the superintendent. Redacted copies of the letters were provided to the ESC and several board members last week. I want to focus on 3 main concerns expressed by the Edison community and provide some excerpts from the teacher letters we received. First concern, teachers work in an environment based in fear, and there's a lack of respect from and trust for the administration from a teacher. The principal doesn't want any input from the teachers or students. After coming to Edison, she had a meeting with the department heads. During the meeting, the principal became exasperated by their questions and told them she followed directions without question. If her boss told her to hang out of the window by her fingers, she would do it without question. She wants teachers and students to follow her directions without question, and she becomes angry if they don't. Another teacher, I feel like I'm on the Titanic. Several of us have been called in and literally yelled at for simply doing our jobs the way we were trained to do them. And another, new assistant principal is my boss. She is not nice. She is rude. She treats us like crap. Whether the fear and lack of trust is justified, it is problematic and even exists among the parents. I've had many parents speak to me privately because they're fearful their child will lose a transfer. Second concern, lack of discipline and consequences for student behavior and no support of teachers when they attempt to change it. This item received the most attention from our community. I think this one example says it all. Our discipline policy is laughable, but it is most certainly not funny. We as teachers are shackled by a code that flies in the face of common sense. We are told not to write a referral regardless of the incident. Rather, we're expected to turn in any report of a discipline infraction in the form of an email. When we do report something via email, many times the student will be right back in our room having received little more than a verbal slap on the wrist. Profanity directed at teachers, fireworks in the building, disruptive behavior, blatant disrespect towards school personnel should be met with firm and non-negotiable consequences. Student received nothing beyond 1, maybe 2 days of trace and come back into our classes smirking, laughing, and mocking because they know they've gotten away with behavior that is unacceptable, to say the least. Final concern, failure to support our high academic and award-winning fine arts programs, both of which bring students to Edison. From a teacher, our school is different than others, so I want our principal to understand that every directive or idea from ESC may not be the best for our school, faculty, or students. She may need to differentiate or modify the information directive from ESC to fit our needs. Edison does not have the same needs and professional development as other schools. Deborah Gist told our PTSA our fine arts program was allocated $7,000 this year alone. Our fine arts department received no money at all last school year, nothing the beginning of this year, and only recently the department received $2,500 for supplies. If our principal has discretion in her spending, she uses poor judgment. The media of late has been all over low teacher pay, and I welcome seeing improvements in that regard. However, the management and administration issues at Edison just make the low pay an even greater hardship for our teachers. To date, there's been a lot of talk about how we're working as a team, but recognize you are the ones that must take action to support our teachers' efforts to help our students learn. Thank you. Teachers should want to teach at Edison Prep, and with the current administration, they do not. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We'll move on to Mr. Heinrichs. Mr. Zachary Heinrichs, who will be speaking about the school climate and its effect on student attitudes. Mr. Heinrichs. Excuse me, and actually I had that note and just kept moving. Okay, we will have Miss Emily Susi. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but maybe when you come to the microphone you can pronounce your name, and I think all the students are going to approach the podium together, which is great. So I'll just ask that you say your name, and then if you are going to go in succession, just make sure you introduce yourself, and each of you have 5 minutes.
Okay. Thank you, and good evening. My name is Emily Seuss, and I'm a senior at Edison Preparatory High School. I'm here today to address some concerns that myself, along with Edison Preparatory parents and faculty, have expressed. And for those of you who don't know me, I have attended Edison since I was in 6th grade. Along with that, I have been extremely involved in all kinds of school activities. Currently, I hold the position of Student Council President. With that being said, I feel like it is my responsibility to speak up for the injustices that I have seen in my school. The first injustice is blatantly clear to me. It is the fact that I, a student, am standing before you to represent my school. The truth is, many parents and faculty are too fearful to speak up for themselves. When I was planning this speech, I was told by an Edison teacher that students are the only ones with nothing to lose by speaking up. It is unbelievable that this system has oppressed people so strongly that they cannot even express their opinions. Amen. Along with that, I was reading comments on Facebook about the off-campus parent meeting that occurred on January 25th to discuss the climate at Edison High School. I was horrified when I read a comment from a mom who refused to come to the meeting out of fear for her child. She explained that her child had a para at Edison, and she was scared that if she spoke out, the administration would find an excuse to take the para away from her child. With that being said, I believe that the fear of addressing legitimate concerns is one of the biggest problems that faces Edison Preparatory. People are constantly ill-treated, but nothing is done about it. This issue stems from a lack of respect within our school community. The administration does not respect the opinions of parents, faculty, or students. Furthermore, the students don't respect the authority of the administration or faculty. And some teachers even disrespect the administration in front of their students. Another major factor that contributes to the brokenness of this system is a lack of discipline. Students are not appropriately punished for their misdeeds. In some cases, punishment is extremely harsh. In others, fault is completely overlooked. Different students are held to different standards. This makes the climate at my high school absolutely dreadful. No one wants to be there. There is no passion for anything. I used to enjoy coming to school. However, this past year has put a damper on my love of learning. I feel like I am watching my school go up in flames. People have asked me why I even care about this. After all, I'm graduating in May. But I care about this issue because I have 2 younger brothers still stuck in the system. I also have friends younger than me who should have the right to a positive education. It is unfortunate that Edison High School has fallen apart in such a crucial time for new students. As people look for a place to begin high school, I fear that Edison will be overlooked and ridiculed. Students might go so far as to transfer out of Tulsa Public Schools. If we as leaders want to gain high-performing students in TPS, it is imperative that we make a change. I urge everyone in this room to continue fighting for a better future for young students. This system needs to be modified. Administration must be re-evaluated. Teachers must feel important and respected. And most importantly, students must rediscover their passion for knowledge. The time has passed for sitting idly by. It is time to take action. Injustice ends with me.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Caitlin Eckhart, and I am currently Edison Preparatory Student Council Vice President. Today, I'm speaking on behalf of Edison's student body due to the negative changes in climate over the last couple of months. When I entered our high school as a freshman, I loved every aspect of Edison, from our school pride to teacher involvement. However, throughout my 4 years at Edison, I have seen large changes in the professionalism, student attitude, and overall a decreasing excitement to excel in the institution that we all attend each and every day. What I would like to address today is the lack of knowledge that new individuals in authoritative positions have in the history of the way Edison has always been run. Coming and changing the way students have been living their high school experience with negativity and no question to what students love and appreciate about their school has angered many of my friends throughout the student body. Not only are students affected, but our teachers as well. Would teachers be as unhappy if they were met with professionalism and positive attitudes in the workplace? Would teachers be able to focus on the job at hand without disruptive classroom environments? If they had support of our parents and coworkers? If our teachers could truly focus on what they were hired to do and were greeted with positivity in all aspects of their career, they could truly succeed. I believe that once teachers feel they are treated with professional and positive attitudes, I believe our students will react with uplifted spirits and openness to new individuals and ideas. I know Edison can once again become a great school and a positive learning environment for all students and myself for the remainder of my senior year. I know this will be a long process, but authority must know that it begins from the top of the chain and eventually will filter throughout our school. Thank you so much for your time.
Good evening. My name is Blake Faulkner, and I'm the Student Council Treasurer for Edison High School. I've been at Edison since 6th grade, so I've seen the school at its best, and now at its worst, in my opinion. I believe Edison is still a great school, but I don't think it's as great as it used to be. One of the reasons for the school being in its current state is the lack of respect throughout the building. Not just from the students, but also from the teachers and administrators. For the most part, the student-to-student and student-to-teacher relationship is respectable, but there is a drop-off in respect when it comes to students and the administration. I'm not saying the whole student body is disrespectful to the administration, but the majority is, and that is not okay. I believe the reason for this is the enforcement of rules is either inconsistent or non-existent at times. Because students know the consequences aren't being implemented like they have been in the past, there's nothing deterring them from breaking the rules. Teachers are frustrated and parents are frustrated, which has created a negative atmosphere for everyone. Rules and consequences are in place for a reason, and whether students like them or not. They establish order and encourage a more disciplined learning environment, which in turn makes the teachers' jobs easier so they can focus on the aspects of their jobs that they love. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Caleb Spoo. I'm a senior at Edison High School, and I'm our student council secretary. One of the things that has affected both students and teachers in our school is the trading of teachers. A couple weeks ago, Edison had an English teacher that was traded for another English teacher at Hale High School. In talking to the teacher, I was under the impression that they enjoyed where they were at. As students, this affects how we learn and how we operate in the classroom. With a new teacher that is brought in that has a different teaching style than other teachers, it changes how a student studies or how they take notes. In this particular class I took my freshman year, each semester each student was given a task and a topic to write a 15-page paper about throughout the semester. When you trade a teacher and the students have been working on their topic and now a new teacher comes in and changes, it's hard on the students. This has also personally affected me. I am one of 5 guys that is up for the Mr. Edison position this year. In choosing a video for Mr. Edison, we had to choose a teacher as well to make the video talking about our accomplishments. The teacher that was traded was supposed to make my video. And looking over all the teachers I've had in high school and middle school, trying to choose who I want to be the person to talk about me during my senior year and this huge honor, I look back and see that only 5 teachers that I've had are still at Edison, and other teachers have just moved on. Our goal is to change the atmosphere of Edison so our teachers want to stay. The effects of trading has taken its toll on students as well as teachers and affects their daily lives. They are now scared because they have no idea how their job is going to be affected, and job security is huge when it comes to changing the atmosphere in our school. Camaraderie between teachers is also something that helps the students. When you're a freshman teacher teaching a student to be prepared for sophomore year, and those sophomore teachers preparing them to teach for junior year, it's huge. And so on. As teachers build relationships with their students, it helps the students want to learn and strive to listen. Our overall question is why? Why trade 2 teachers who liked where they were at and hurt students and other teachers in the process? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tanner Floyd, and I am an appointed officer for Edison Student Council. Over the 7 years I've attended Edison, school morale has drastically gone down. One thing I've noticed is if our teachers don't want to come to school, then why should the students? I know this is an exaggeration, but there is some truth in that statement. There were 20+ teachers gone on one day this year. Some to sickness, but I've also heard some just didn't want to come. I believe the morale in the school works from the top down, and our teacher morale has been terrible lately. I have been told by some teachers that they don't want to teach in this current environment. Yes, there are still the great teachers who do want us to learn to the best of our abilities, but there are rumors of 20+ teachers wanting to leave at the end of this school year. And if our teachers aren't wanting to be there, that creates a bad learning experience for the students, which in turn creates a bad school climate all around. We understand that we have students who don't want to be here, no matter what, but we believe the teachers should try to be a little more positive and teach to the best of their abilities to the students who do want to be there so they can get the best education possible. Creating this bad environment has made it to where a lot of middle school students want to go to other high schools instead of Edison, which is a huge concern for me because I have a lot of friends that go to Edison, and I believe they should be able to stay at Edison with no fear for their future. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Julia Manapella, a junior at Edison Preparatory High School and a student council member. The culture at Edison has faded due to change in administration, but also due to changes made by district rules and regulations, which have disregarded student initiatives and opportunities. Many social events Edison has held dear for years have been challenged by new blanket rules that have been put in effect recently. Some of these rules are mandatory. However, some are not. It seems as if many decisions being made are bureaucratic for the whole district and are not taking into account the uniqueness and traditions of individual schools. When I arrived at Edison, the atmosphere of the school mimicked that of a driven, optimistic, student-oriented place to study and succeed in order to be ready for my next step. Edison was trusting of students to do what they expected to do and would punish only when they were proven wrong. The lack of trust and respect given to students as of late reflects in how students treat administration, for you can't ask for respect when it's not given in return. Respect is given to those who earn it, not those who demand it. Respect is also key to a healthy relationship, both working and personal. Screaming should never replace personal interactions. Teachers are not being respected or appreciated by Edison administration. The joy I witnessed from teachers being in the classroom and enthusiasm for teaching when I arrived my freshman year has drastically changed throughout the 2 years that I've been at Edison, or these past 2 years. Everyone wants to blame the low budget for not paying our teachers enough, even though that is a legitimate factor. It is not the root cause of the dissatisfaction. The depth of this situation is not that shallow. Our teachers chose to teach in Tulsa Public Schools with the knowledge their pay would not be equivalent to surrounding states. However, they were under the impression that their knowledge and skill would be respected and appreciated, and their educated and experienced input and opinion would not be disregarded. Once a person does not feel valued and respected, their enthusiasm and love for their work is crushed. A majority of our teachers, if not scared of repercussions, would be talking about the treatment they've received throughout the past 2 years. That reflects this negative working environment. When one of our loved and respected teachers was displaced overnight, without explanation or time to explain what little they knew to their students, an environment of insecurity and intimidation to speak out and be heard about concerns and opinions was developed. The students at Edison appreciate the hard work of our teachers and value them all highly as we support them through this difficult time at our beloved school. I hope if you heard anything of what I said tonight, it is the fact that we admire our teachers and they deserve to be treated as professionals they truly are. Thank you for your time.
Thank you to all of the students and your remarks. We'll move on to Mr. Matt McAfee. He'll speak on Edison Preparatory Climate and Tulsa Public Schools. Mr. McAfee.
Thank you. I have to begin by saying that I've taken students to DC many times to watch all of the festivities and to take a lot of these students to the inauguration. I've taken my college classmates with me to the inauguration of Barack Obama. I've asked students to come to school board meetings before. I've asked for a lot of different things, all geared towards democracy and citizenship. Whether you agree or disagree with what the students are saying today, I think it goes without saying that I've never personally been prouder of these Edison students. My name is Matthew McAfee, and I am a teacher and cross-country coach at Edison Preparatory School. I'm here today to speak about a college preparatory education. At Edison, we provide a quality educational experience with an emphasis on college and career readiness, every day without exception. This statement is proudly featured on our school's homepage, and I can attest to this from my own observations. At Edison Prep, I work with qualified teachers that have passions for their areas of study. I am surrounded by students that have proven themselves to be exceptional young adults. Some gifted on the stage, others are gifted with their artistic ability. And I was amazed to see our student artwork featured at the NatureWorks art competition just this last week. And I would like to put a shout out for Julia Manapella because you won an honorable mention. In fact, I'm also proud to say that our Edison girls cross country team, many, like Julia, here today, also received an award that they had the highest GPA in the state for all girls cross country. Lastly, I am in awe of our parent community. Our parents are consistently supportive of and engaged with this learning institution. While this is not exactly our banner year, I am still and always will be a proud Edison Eagle. I fully believe in the Edison Preparatory mission statement. We provide a quality educational experience with an emphasis on college and career readiness every day without exception. I love this mission because I believe it from the bottom of my heart that the role of public schools is the future of our democracy. Last year, Edison was named a top 5 school in the state of Oklahoma. No one knows what that ranking will be after this school year, but I look forward to the day it is crowned, as it should, the #1 school in our state. Thank you very much, school board and the chiefs and Dr. Deborah Gist. I thank you for your time. I thank you, parents and students and teachers who were willing to come tonight. I would attest, as you have heard from others, that there is needed change at Edison. I'm not sure what that change is or should be, but I am very hopeful that inside this room, there is a group of people that can make it happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. McAfee. Next, we have Ms. Joelle McBride, who will be speaking about discipline and teacher turnover at Edison and site-specific issues with which the campus is dealing. For a point of reference, after Ms. McBride, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 more speakers, just so y'all will know what's going on. Ms. McBride, please.
My name is Joelle McBride. I have 3 Edison students, and I've been a busy parent doing what parents do, not watching what was happening to our district. While I was doing the job of raising my kids, the school board was supposed to uphold the standards of education in our schools. I'm extremely disappointed with the results. The state of my Edison community is declining. Unfortunately, Edison is not the school that it was 5 years ago. By choosing Edison High School in 2013, our expectation was that the programs would be consistent. The staff in place was on a great course. The teachers were excellent and the administration attentive. What I'm witnessing now is chaotic and unprofessional. The future of our high school magnet program is dismal. We're losing qualified teachers each year, and those are hard to replace in Oklahoma right now. Other TPS parents will go through the same process of choosing what middle and high school is best for their students. But now they're using great-looking statistics from 2015 and the headlines they see now in the news from 2018. If changes are not made quickly, great families whose presence will help sustain Edison's level of excellence will go somewhere else. The changes that have been made since Edison parents have been speaking out are a little late. We've received a bunch of bad press based on a few bad apples. How does a school turn that around? What has TPS done to help us turn the tide of Edison's declining internal climate and external impression? Where is the good news? It's bad press like this that perpetuates the idea in Green Country that TPS is the worst option in the area. Please get your head out of the sand. TPS as a whole is a sinking ship under the current leadership. Edison is the first extremely visible example of that. Are you interested now? The Midtown Money Belt is speaking. Are you listening? The number 5 ranked public high school in Oklahoma is begging for help right now. Did we get your attention yet? There are many Edison parents who don't believe that Ms. Spear is the best candidate to be our principal anymore. We believe that our teachers feel trapped with no one to hear their concerns because of the poor daily climate at work and all of the political jockeying and outside influences within Tulsa Public Schools. I've heard TPS buzzwords: equity, character, excellent, team, and joy. I've already spoken to the possible fall of Edison's excellence. Let me pose this question. Do you believe there's joy at Edison's campus right now? More than 50 anonymous letters from our faculty points to an answer of no. What we've heard was the environment overreaches the joy. I've heard teachers feeling undervalued so much that they don't even want to get out of their car in the morning to go into the building. That was a quote from one of the anonymous letters. What about character? I'd like to make the bold suggestion that character is not the responsibility of our teachers. Character should be taught early on, much earlier than middle and high school. I'm especially interested in the idea of equity and how it relates to our current problem. It's my understanding that our superintendent is seeking to make all schools equitable, giving all students the same opportunities. The ideal is truly attractive. However, it's an impossible goal to attain. The idea that all of our high schools would be able to say they have the same graduation rates or the same college readiness percentage is unlikely. Just like at the Olympics, there's a ranking: first, second, third. Edison is an excellent high school, one to brag about, and one to set the bar high. Our name indicates our specialty. Edison Preparatory High School. Our teaching professionals prepare our magnet students for college. Is the school board ready to lose Edison's state ranking? Is it looking to change our name? I don't really think you are. We need a campus leader who will represent TPS and then be able to consider everything that makes Edison great and adapt. What works with Memorial, East Central, or Booker T will not work at Edison. We are unique, which is not an equitable idea, but it makes us great. For example, just like in a family, each child is different and responds differently to different discipline and teaching styles. This should speak to every parent in this room. Parents, I hope you've never reached the level of mama bear outrage that we're in right now. TPS district, you are messing with our cubs, and we are outraged. The last buzzword is team. Unfortunately, the recent actions of two newly hired Edison teachers have made the news. This is not the caliber of teacher that has made Edison what it is. Our teaching
Ms. McBride, your time is up. Thank you. Next, we have Ms. Shauna Garris, who will speak to her concerns regarding the climate at Edison. Ms. Garris.
I am a parent of an Edison student, and I'm deeply concerned about the situation at Edison. We chose Edison for our daughters because of its academic rigor, the diverse student body, and the college prep environment. Edison's traditional core of high-quality teachers is key to creating that environment and delivering a quality education. I realize Edison is home to both community and magnet students, and I believe all students benefit from academic rigor. I love the mission of challenging all students and making AP courses available to a wide and diverse group of students. Like everyone, the students at Edison will rise to the expectations set for them, both academic expectations and behavioral expectations. Although the principal seems well-intentioned, she does not exhibit the competence to be an effective principal at Edison. Edison houses both a high school and a middle school, as well as both a community school and a magnet school. It is a school with rich traditions and a strong sense of community. Academic rigor is its hallmark, and teachers are key to that academic rigor. My daughter has been in classes with amazingly talented and highly qualified teachers, and now they are leaving in droves. Yes, some are leaving because of the tragic underfunding of education in our state, but that is not the only thing at play at Edison. Teachers have said to me, yes, I want to make more money, but mostly I want to be treated with respect by my principal. I frequently volunteer at the school and constantly receive subtle messages from teachers that working for this principal is difficult. Thus, I was not surprised when I started hearing the more direct feedback from teachers that has recently been expressed. Though not surprised, I am saddened by what I have heard from teachers. The environment at Edison is toxic. Teachers are afraid and demoralized. The discipline system is ineffective and careening toward a potentially dangerous situation. Numerous teachers report that the principal yells at them and that she curses at them. She does not promote dialogue and becomes frustrated when people ask questions. She has lost the trust of teachers. I am alarmed by the number of teachers who have already left and outright panicked when I hear of the teachers planning to leave at the end of this school year. A corollary to high teacher turnover is poor hiring decisions and lack of support and training for new teachers. Some of the principal's hiring decisions cause one to question her effectiveness in identifying qualified teaching candidates. Experienced teachers report that she lacks the judgment to hire teachers who are a good fit for Edison and lacks the wisdom to involve the department heads in the hiring process. She has failed to provide support and training for new teachers, with the most egregious example being the teacher taunted by students until he lost his composure and threw a desk. While no one condones a teacher exhibiting this behavior, it is clear this teacher was pushed to the brink by demands from the principal without providing needed support, and by the principal's failure to establish an environment that supports teachers when students misbehave. Students who were in this class have told me the students acting out did it intentionally to provoke a response and knew they could get away with it because they had in the past. It is utterly disheartening that in light of the crisis in education in Oklahoma, Edison's excellent teachers have to endure unprofessional treatment from their principal and the toxic environment that has developed during her tenure. Education and educators face enough of a threat from our state legislature. We in TPS need to be doing everything we can to support and care for our teachers. Just the opposite is happening at Edison. The principal is the person ultimately accountable for the environment at a school and for teacher morale. The reality right now is that Edison is failing. Though not perfect, Edison was doing very well before the principal's tenure. It was thriving despite years of underfunding from the state. We all absolutely need to work together to increase state funding for education. We need to vote out legislators who oppose tax increases for education. And we need to elect candidates who will work to restore our system of public education. But in the meantime, we must save Edison Preparatory School. I regret that it has come to this, but primary responsibility for the problems at Edison falls at the feet of the principal. I respectfully request that you replace Edison's principal so the school can rebuild and once again be a shining star in the Tulsa public school system.
Our next speaker is Mr. Larry Cagle, who signed up to speak about the need to improve teacher wages.
Sorry, Matt, I got to follow all those great speeches. It helped me to build some courage here. My name is Larry Cagle. I'm an English teacher at Thomas Edison Preparatory High School. At the PTSA meeting a few weeks ago, I saw shock in the eyes of our parents. If someone had yelled, "Go wake up Decker and Guest and get them down here," I think they'd be knocking on doors. Once you've eaten from the fruit of knowledge, you can't go back. The parents learned the truth and they want change. If our leadership leaves this meeting tonight, hearing the truth from teachers, parents, and students that our schools are broken, and you are seen on the news saying it's not that bad, I assure you, you've chosen poorly. Tonight, we as a community are a lighthouse of enlightenment. These parents, students, and teachers are going to point us toward the truth. If we grow tired and we choose to get off course, we will turn our lights to your eyes and set you straight. Concerns about Ms. Spears, Ms. Vinson, the school board, and Dr. Guest should be left to the students and the parents and the administrators. What I can talk about are the two last concerns, and I couldn't disagree with you more, Ms. Decker. What I can say is that if we want to stop seeing teachers in the news, we have to pay competitively with our neighboring states. We are $15,000 behind this race. We are the lowest paid teachers in the country. No, we aren't going to change this overnight. But we have to start to compete. How did it happen? By not giving teachers for a decade. By giving ourselves the biggest budget cuts in the country. Now, some will justify these pay increases we've seen at the ESC by saying, well, they're working harder. I assure you, I am working harder. Teachers are flooding out of this state at an alarming rate. Edison has had a 62% turnover in 5 years. Booker T is seeing 50%. Those are our two best schools in this district, our two best. In my department, there are 7 English teachers. I have seen in my 5 years 9 different teachers leave that same department. That's a fact. And we are Edison. The halls of Edison are filled with brand new frightened-eyed teachers learning to cut their teeth. You and I have invested in these young talented teachers, and once they hit their stride, bang, they're out of this state. I love this program we have with Teach for America. I've worked for them over the summer, helping them to train new teachers to work in our toughest schools. But we are wasting our time because as soon as they finish, they leave. We have, what was it at Hale? We had 10, 12 teachers graduate their second year last year, and they're all gone. Hale had to replace them all. What I can tell you is that Texas and Arkansas is awfully grateful for your training program. When my daughters, and I have 2 of them that have just begun teaching, one of my daughters works for Teach for America, and when she's done, do you think I want her to stay here? Have you lost your minds? It's a $15,000 pay increase for her to move across the state. When she raises my grandbabies, I want them to do better than I was able to provide for. In 2 years, that's $30,000. In 4 years, that's $60,000. In 5, it's $75,000. When she retires, it's $450,000. Are you kidding me? Oh, no, I don't want her to stay here. I want her to get out. If you work at Quick Trip, you earn $15 an hour. I make $14.40 an hour. And if you're a new teacher, you're going to wait 10 years before you're a Quick Trip employee. That's a fact. These are our children, not our groceries. Who do you think that I am? I am their teacher. When are we going to change this behavior? I don't want to see any more of these, what the infamous Principal Joe Clark called pathetic hands, these pitiful hands. I don't want to see this hands in the air. I don't know what I can do. I asked them to give you more money. There's nothing I can do. Well, Joe Clark wouldn't stand for it. I'm not going to stand for it. You pay your teachers a decent wage. And tonight, you heard it, you learn from it, and you make it different. There, that's bell to bell.
We have Mr. Paul Gehring signed up to speak about the culture change over the past year and a half at Edison.
Good evening. Since I have the mic, I want to take a second and recognize, I think his name was Mr. Bright from McLean. I salute him. Years trying to get an education for children in North Tulsa should be recognized. I have the opposite problem of Mr. Bright. My kids have gone to it almost makes me want to cry being up in this freaking place. My kids have gone to a top school in the state, but in the country. And we're trying to tear it down now. Thank you. My wife and I have had children in TPS for over 20 years. Of our 4 children, 3 have graduated from Edison. All 3 have attended college. 2 have graduated college and are employed. The 3rd's a freshman at the University of Denver. Our youngest is a sophomore at Edison, and many of our friends have sent their children to private school. Several, after seeing the success of our children, have expressed regret to us that they wasted their money on their private schools. We feel strongly that it's beneficial for the school, our children, and the community for all of us to send our children to public school. We all gain. And we're now concerned because the changes at our school have resulted in many Edison families questioning the wisdom of sending their younger children to Edison. This problem has to be resolved immediately. In our 20-plus years in TPS, we've lived through 7 principal changes, 3 superintendent changes. And these have always proceeded relatively smoothly, but there's the expected bumps in the road. But this time's different. Whenever we've gotten a new principal in the past, they've all made changes to like the functioning of the school, and we've always supported the new principal and waited for them to acclimate to the new position, and they've all brought us new positive contributions to our school with minimal disruption. So we behaved the same way with Ms. Spear. However, the results severely different. She's made changes we were uncertain about, but we sat back and waited to see what the results would be, and now we've waited long enough. Through her policy changes and management style, she's lost the respect and trust of students, the teachers, as well as the parents. The culture of intimidation and lack of discipline has resulted in poor behavior by the students, which makes it severely difficult for our teachers to teach. At Edison now, I believe all faith in Ms. Spear is lost. It's not sustainable, and we feel this course can no longer be corrected with the current management. We feel it's essential to relieve Ms. Spear of her duties at Edison as soon as possible and bring in a principal or interim principal who understands the goals and purpose of our 6th to 12th grade school with college prep and regular curriculum. We want to reestablish our culture of acceptance and value of all individuals participating in the school. And we do not want to lose the great school so many generations of teachers, students, parents, and principals have worked so hard to create. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. For our last speaker this evening, we have Ms. Vanessa McLaren, who signed up to speak to request feedback about the administration's strategies to retain certified and highly qualified teachers.
Many parents in Tulsa chose public school for their children for more than the educational opportunity. We believe in public schools. We believe that they are an integral part of our community, and we back this belief with the ultimate skin in the game, our babies. In response to the state's lack of education funding, in the 2 TPS schools in which we are enrolled, I have personally seen a massive increase in parental financial support, political activism, and even more in families giving of their time, energy, and other resources. Friends with children in other TPS schools agree. One result of this level of engagement is that there is an increased expectation of you, the administrative body. We expect clear and transparent policies, frequent opportunities to give and receive feedback, a respectful and collaborative response, and maybe, if we're really shooting for the stars, an attitude of appreciation, because no one has to go this alone. This district has unrestricted access to an incredibly diverse and qualified pool of parent stakeholders who are passionate about kids and education. Parents have offered to help and been roundly rejected. Time and discretion prevent me from sharing specifics here tonight, but many of us have been patronized, ignored, coddled, discriminated against, and outright lied to by this administration. Why won't you let us help you? As anyone who has ever had a great teacher knows, education works best where there is relationship, and that is what is missing in this school district. It's no nonsense that nurturing is what gives kids the foundation they need to learn. Where some children's most basic needs are not being met, other parents and teachers working together will be the only thing that fills the void. Teachers have been abandoned to the point that even their conviction and love for students have not been enough to keep them here. No teacher ever goes into the field for money. Educators go into the occupation believing that where income is insufficient, relationship and opportunity to make a difference will give them staying power. Why are so many afraid to speak out against this administration for fear of reprisal? Why won't you let them help you? Entities that do have your attention include high-dollar consulting groups, national foundations with impressive political and financial ties, and community members in positions of power whose children do not attend public school. Why is this school system run like a corporation? Terms like human capital versus human resources reduce human beings to dollar signs. With a 147% increase in non-teaching positions in TPS over the past 2 decades, why haven't you addressed the problems plaguing our schools? We have reached the point where even historically high-performing outliers in TPS seem to be imploding. We have trusted you to solve big problems, like addressing how behavioral issues hijack teachers' energies, from educating to discipline, protecting students and teachers from volatile classmates, and differentiating needs on a school-by-school basis to support specific programs. Social justice battles can only be won when fighting on a solid foundation. These are the assurances that we need from you. 1, that the administration and school board are doing everything in your power to retain certified teachers. This is about prioritizing teacher salaries and creating a work culture where educators feel valued, honored, empowered, and safe. 2, that you are implementing safeguards to ensure that emergency certified staff are not doing more harm than good. A warm body in a classroom is not good enough. 3, that you are actively seeking ways to protect and expand successful programs to create more opportunities and not systematically dismantling magnet programs because they do not fit in with the values in the current strategic plan. 4, we need to know that you are committed to transparency, communication, and innovation that may come from outside of your echo chamber, and that you value parents and teachers when they bring these innovations to you. If those of us who are here tonight representing our school sites and children are more trouble than we are worth, we need to know if you have no intention.
I want to thank all of our speakers for sharing their thoughts and concerns. This does conclude the citizens' comments portion of the agenda. I know all of the board members have received multiple communications throughout the last couple weeks, and frankly, many citizens regularly communicate with us, whether every single one of us has coffee, whether we see you in a building, whether we see you here at the school board meeting, whether you send us an email or frequently a text these days. We appreciate it. With that, we'll move to the superintendent's reports and presentations.
Thank you, Madam President. I remember learning how to jump rope at Sauk Elementary where I was in kindergarten, and I thought it was such a big girl thing to do with the beads on the jump rope that would click when you turned it. And I loved Mrs. White at Carnegie Elementary, and Mrs. White is still she's actually still involved at Carnegie. She's a grandparent of a student there today. And at Grimes Elementary, and yes, my family moved a lot, Mr. Wiley brought joy and enthusiasm to our music class, where he would end each song with cha-cha-cha, And we loved that at the end of every song. My love for music, unfortunately not accompanied by actual talent, continued at Nimitz Junior High, where Mrs. Duncan was our chorus teacher. Mrs. Duncan continues today to be a teacher in Tulsa Public Schools, and she is a leader district-wide as well as the chorus teacher at Hale High School. At Nimitz, I furthered my love for reading and writing and picked up my grammarian tendencies from my English teachers, Mrs. Trotter and Mrs. Ratliff. Importantly, I declared my life's ambitions in Mr. Henderson's economic class to become a teacher, a project that I have with me, a project that I keep on my desk every day. And at Memorial High School, I continued reading voraciously, but I also learned to love math under the guidance of Mrs. Gaddis, now Representative Gaddis, who was my algebra teacher. She made algebra practical and real and understandable. And I benefited tremendously from all of these teachers and so many more in Tulsa Public Schools. And I learned to lead, and I learned through community service and student government. I love this district, and I love Tulsa. And my commitment to our city and its public schools and my dedication to our children and their teachers is deep and true. I am a teacher, remain a teacher at heart. Coming home to Tulsa to be the superintendent of the Tulsa Public Schools, many of you have heard me say, is absolutely my dream job. To be able to be here at home, to work with teachers, and to work with students who, just like many of you, have gone through Tulsa Public Schools and are going to go on to great things. The fact that our circumstances here in Tulsa and across the state are so challenging certainly adds an extraordinarily difficult element to the work, but it only means that that work is that much more important. Many of you have heard me say this before, but it is really hard to be a teacher in Oklahoma right now. It's also tough to be a principal or other team member in our schools, our counselors, our speech pathologists. Our team is stretched very thin, and that stress gets managed in invisible ways more than anyone can imagine. For years, our teachers have taken on more and more responsibility, larger class sizes, fewer adults in the building to help them to support our students. And our principals supervise and directly coach larger sized teams, and they have less assistants to support teachers and students. These professionals are deeply committed to our children and deeply committed to Tulsa. That's why they're here. They deserve and need our love, our respect, and our support. At the same time that our schools are doing more with less, our community struggles as well with fewer supports. And that need to support families also often falls to our schools and to our teachers. So while it's always important to ensure that our school district is supporting our teachers and other educators, it's more important now than it's ever been before. In the midst of this challenging context, we have to make sure that our district is doing everything we can to support our professional educators and our other team members. And so many of you have come here tonight and have spent time over the last few weeks sharing with us that we have failed to do that. And we're listening. We have work to do. And we're going to diligently continue to respond and continue to improve. Edison Preparatory School has received a significant amount of our attention recently. And let me begin saying that, and I'll echo the comments that have been made tonight, that Edison Preparatory School is and will remain an excellent school, one of the very best schools in Oklahoma. Absolutely. And in fact, in my professional experience, having worked and taught as an educator and worked in 6 different states, it rivals great schools in other states in which the funding is more than twice what we spend here in Oklahoma. And that's because of dedicated teachers, families, and students who are in our school. We have heard from our teachers, from our parents, and from our students at Edison, and we're acting. We will continue to work with Principal Spear, the Tulsa Classroom Teachers Association, and parent leadership to better understand the concerns and to address them. Principal Spear has already begun understanding the concerns and taking steps, and we're supporting her. The district and school leadership will continue to address the concerns that have been elevated: teacher morale, teacher turnover, the state budget cut decisions, academic rigor, student discipline, and school and district practices. We can improve, and we will. We must give one another the opportunity to work together and to improve. Just as we believe in our students and we refuse to give up on them, and we believe in our teachers and we refuse to give up on them, we must also give our administrators an opportunity to listen and to improve. I ask that you give me that opportunity to improve and give our school leadership that same opportunity. I hear and recognize the deep concern that we've heard over the last few weeks and tonight. I hear you, and we are and will continue to make changes. Here is what I want you to know. This is important. I know Dixie Spear. She is a talented educator, a loving mother, a respected colleague, and a bright and hardworking professional. She respects others. She has successfully served as a school leader in Tulsa and has moved on to new opportunities at the great dismay of teachers who worked with her, who did not want her to leave their school, and who were worried about what would come next because because of the positive experience they had. This does not discount the concerns that we're hearing here tonight. Please know that. The reason that I'm sharing that with you is to say that we have an opportunity to listen and to make improvements, and we will. We will hold ourselves accountable, and we will be accountable to you for those improvements. I ask the Edison community to give us the opportunity to make those changes and allow us to use what we've heard and to respond. I also know that we have folks who are here tonight, and those perhaps who are watching, who are from other parts of our community, who have ideas and questions and concerns about our schools or about the work of the district as a whole. And we will continue working with our principals, our teachers, with TCTA, and with student and parent leaders to improve district-wide. This includes concerns around issues about discipline, about teacher morale, and budget cuts. As described in Destination Excellence, we are all learners, contributors, and designers. We are lifelong learners who strive to learn, grow, and improve. We are contributors, and we listen and support one another and positively engage together. And we are designers who know what to do when we don't know what to do. We identify problems, we seek solutions, and we improve. This belief that we are designers extends to everyone in our district. So this notion that people feel afraid to raise questions is the exact opposite of what we believe as a district. And so the fact that that is an element that is in our district is something we must rapidly address, because it is quite contrary to what we believe and what we want to see happening. And that is what we will do. With that work underway and continuing, we know that there are other factors that influence our work. And I want to share some information with you about state funding and about the implications on our teachers, because that's been brought up here tonight, and I want to make sure that we're all operating with some information that I think is important to share. We all know that Oklahoma's state education funding situation is abysmal, and this is not news to anyone here tonight. Don't know if I'm supposed to be driving this. I guess not. This has been a persistent problem, and I just want to highlight a few things. And again, I'm echoing some of the concerns that have been shared by some of the speakers tonight. We have seen the highest per pupil cuts to state aid compared to any other state in the country. We have the greatest for the last 10 years. This is $27 million in cuts alone to TPS. We also know what this means for our teachers. Our teachers, as has been mentioned tonight, need and deserve a professional and competitive salary. So we need to make that and address that. This is a chart that I can make available to anyone who would like to have it, that compares, Mr. Cagle was talking about the comparison to our surrounding states. We have done that comparison. Sometimes you will hear from legislators that there are other factors that equal out the pay issue, and we know that we have really significant differences even when you consider those issues, and so we want to make this available to anyone for whom that would be helpful. Skipping ahead, on the next slide, I want to just acknowledge the real challenge that our teachers face with the salaries that they experience every day. These are not fictional numbers here. These are real teachers in our district, And this is the real, these are the real circumstances under which they are existing in our state because of our failure as a state to invest in them and to do what we need to do. And so our teachers are understandably hurting and demoralized, and we need to work together to make those changes. So I share all of this to make sure that we are telling you what we are doing, not only that we're going to listen and make improvements at the school level, at the district level, to address the working conditions that we know matter hugely to our ability to retain and support teachers, but also so that you know what we're doing in order to make sure that we are advocating for our teachers. So moving ahead, looking at the steps that we've been taking to advocate, and we want to ask for your help in working with us on that. Those are just some recent cuts that we've experienced. And I want to say that quite contrary to one of the comments that was made about growing the district office, we've actually reduced the district office significantly, 10%, which is a net loss of 102 positions in 2016-17, and then another 26 positions in 2017-2018. Because the Board of Education and I know that when we're making budget cuts, as hard as they are to make under the circumstances we have right now, that we know we have to do everything to make those as far away from teachers and students as possible, and that's been a commitment that we've had. So looking quickly at the work that we've done at the district level, and how we're advocating. We are reaching out to legislators, and I know Representative Goodwin has been here tonight, and she has been one person we know that we can count on to support education. There are others, and we're going to continue to advocate with them and to be specific with them about what we need. Right now, as you probably know, there is an initiative statewide on the Step Up Oklahoma plan. And we are part of the Oklahoma Education Association agency that's advocating to support that. Let me be clear about the Step Up initiative. $5,000 is not an increase that is large enough for us to be able to do the right thing by our teachers. It is not enough. But with that said, it is a step in the right direction, and we appreciate those who've been working to move that forward. So the next slide is just showing the many ways in which we've reached out to our public to talk about this. I want to move past that to our legislative priorities. Our greatest legislative priority by far is our teacher salaries. It's not the only one. We want increased flexibility so that we can continue to provide increased flexibility to our schools in the district. But by far, our teacher salary increases are the largest. This just shows the magnitude of what we need in order to be able to make those changes at the district level. It is far beyond our ability to make more efficient management of our district and to be able to give our teachers the increases they need and deserve. We absolutely must have increases from our state in order to do that. So the best outcome from the current challenges that we're experiencing in Tulsa are that we resolve the district issues and the school-specific issues that we're hearing tonight. So know that I hear you. We understand, we are listening, we're responding, and we will continue to respond in order to make improvements that we need to make. And at the same time, we want to ask for your continued advocacy for us to come together as a community and fight for our children and our teachers and our state, because our city's future and the quality of life for every Tulsan is counting on that to happen. So it's two things at once. So know that we're hearing you, and what I'm sharing about advocacy and the need to increase teacher salaries is not in any way, shape, or form saying that the other work doesn't need to happen. In fact, quite the opposite. Both of those two things need to happen at the same time. So we are acting, we will continue to act, we will continue to listen. I ask that you continue to hold us accountable and watch to make sure that we're doing what we said we were going to do. And I also ask that you continue to work with us to, as a community, to advocate as a whole on behalf of our teachers and students. And that concludes my comments tonight, Madam President.
Thank you, Dr. Guest. And thank you again, everyone here and out in the overflow rooms and watching on the live streaming for participating and being a part of this journey that we call democracy. This is kind of what it looks like in action, and I think it's, like I said, energizing, invigorating, and totally and completely necessary. So thank you all for participating. We are going to move to our non-routine items. Item L was withdrawn, so I don't believe we have any non-routine items this evening. And Mr. Wade, is there any new business that's been submitted? Okay. So we'll move to our announcements. As I said, we're here the first and third Monday of every month. It's always a public meeting. The agendas are posted the Friday before. You can sign up to speak on non-agenda items ahead of time and then come to the meeting and speak on things that are on the agenda. So we welcome that, value it, and just a reminder that all the board members' emails are on the TPS website. Many of you have our cell phone numbers. I think a lot of us prefer text, so please feel free to reach out. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Education will be held on Tuesday, February 20th, 2018 at 6:30 p.m. in the Shell Summon Room at the Education Service Center, 3027 South New Haven Avenue, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Do you have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? I'll call for the vote. Ms. Shelton?
Aye.
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 Aye. Meeting adjourned.